Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we're going to be debating three crucial issues. Number one, Senator Nathaniel Fallow McGill has been summoned by the LACC, where he was grilled for alleged corruption. There were some violent clashes at the CDC headquarters, where the LDEA went to raid a place from drugs near CDC headquarters. And we have Representative Marvin Cole wants the Director General of the Civil Service Agency, Mr. Josiah Jokai, fired. Why? We're going to sort it out. Let me welcome all our viewers from across the globe and welcome my panelists tonight. I have Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, the New Progressive. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me, and hi to all the panelists, my fellow panelists, and to the viewers. Nice to be on the show tonight.
Thank you. Let me welcome Pastor S.T. Salif. Pastor S.T. Salif is a Sustainable Development Coach. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jar, and I'm looking towards a wonderful and great show tonight.
Let me also welcome our resident economist and also public financial management practitioner, Mr. Thomas B. Cannon. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Dennis. Great to be here.
Let me also welcome the unapologetic, the unabashed citizen, Mr. Jerome Gaiman, who also hosts On Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Welcome, Mr. Gaiman.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be on the show with these esteemed gentlemen. Hopefully we'll have a woman on, but so far so good. Thank you very much for hosting the show.
I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If it is Friday, it's Friday Night Debate right here on Focus on Liberia. Nathaniel McGill, that's Senator from Mount Gibby. He's at LACC was at LACC to answer questions for alleged corruption. According to them, the issue is around the supplemental payroll with 728 names at the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs that he allegedly created outside the framework of the Civil Service Agency. And that, according to the audit report, has an annual salary expense of $2.6 million, which is 50% higher than the total salary expense for regular staff. Let me also welcome Elvis. Elvis, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. John. Glad to be on.
Thank you. Again, our first issue here is Nathaniel Fallow McGill. Mr. Pastor Salif, the invitation of McGill at the LACC, good thing or bad thing?
That's a good thing. I mean, every Liberian, nobody is above the law. I mean, I see on the Elvis' name. Let me pick on him tonight. He said he's the law-abiding citizen. I mean, give me that enough part of the law-abiding citizen. So, I mean, the law is created for everybody. The law is created to foster unity and peace and growth development in the country. So they I don't have to do something wrong necessarily to be invited. If the LACC deem it necessary that maybe there's some questions I need to answer, everybody should be invited. The LACC, the Liberian Economic Crime, whatever. It was a model after the EFCC from Nigeria, the Economic Financial Crime Commission, that Ellen modeled and came and started in Liberia. Is there for the betterment of Liberia, for the sustainable growth and development of Liberia. So anybody, and I mean anybody, Constitution says no man is above the law. So Nathaniel McGill is not above the law. I took a trip to Liberia. When I came back, if the LACC invite me, definitely I will go there and answer questions. If I did nothing wrong, I don't see why I should be afraid. And Liberians should reframe, and desist from this attitude that if somebody is invited, we should allow the law to take its course. And when Ellen was president, I had the same problem with her. And I always challenged her when I was on radio and TV. If you are the president, you set up the LACC. Everybody that invited her, public West minister at the time, even the same ability when he was at the airport. Anybody that invites you will stand up as the defense counsel. Then why did you establish the agency? The agency should be allowed to do their work without being hamstrung. If the person has done nothing wrong, they will be adjudicated and they will walk. If they have done something wrong, let the law take its course. So yes, it's a good step in the right direction that the LACC invited Nathaniel McGill. I hope they have the goods and the evidences to show him why he's there with them.
Thank you. Mr. Sherry, welcome.
Thank you.
Was the LACC responding to McGill's request or his challenge of the U.S. and Liberian government to investigate him and provide proof of his involvement in corruption? Was it that what prompted, in your view, prompted that call?
Are you referring to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's a hot potato. I just keep on trying to adjust.
You can't even let it mess it answer, Dennis.
And you throw me a hot potato, Dennis. But look, I think that in general, just to piggyback on what the Reverend said, no one is above the law, and McGill has been someone that we've talked about ad nauseum, and in any other country, Dennis. McGill would not be in the Senate. He will be nowhere near, the corridors of power. But here we are in Liberia. It's anything goes. And so a man who has never exonerated himself from, a wild range of allegations. He is now, a senator. He used those money, dark money. To get himself elected into this position. He is a powerful person, a powerful politician in the corridors of power in Liberia with dark money, sometimes stolen, unaccounted for. And so the fact that the LACC is doing this, it's a good thing.
My question is, quite recently you threw out a challenge that if you think I'm corrupt, he challenged the U.S. government and the Liberian government to investigate it. Do you think that what LACC was responding to here?
Call my bluff. So I think that they are, I think it's not just that, and I think they are going after individuals with questionable character, like McGill and others. I just I will hope that this is extended to everybody and not just the McGills of this world. So to everybody to make this process credible. And I think that the president is on the right track when it comes to this particular issue of corruption. Corruption is endemic in the Liberian society. The reason why we borrow so much money, Liberia is poor. I don't want to hear that. Liberia is not poor. This is not a poor country. This is a wealthy country managed by oligarchs, managed by the wealthy few, you know, the 1% who see themselves in public position. I work in public service. Public service is not where you go to become wealthy. You go into public service for different reasons, different agenda, which is different from just trying to be wealthy. And in Liberia, people trying to get grab and go, get wealthy overnight. You have guys who didn't have bike, Dennis. They didn't have a bike, and now they're super millionaires. They're super millionaires, Dennis. It's despicable. It's despicable.
Dr. Pearson, the CDC again described this one as another witch hunt. And that prompted members of the CDC youth to accompany Follow McGill at the LACC headquarters. Do they have a point here? Another witch hunt?
Thank you, Dennis, and hi to the panelists who just coming on. It's a pleasure sitting on the podium with you tonight. Listen, Mr. Dennis, I think, fairly speaking, politics is a very tricky game to play in Liberia, in Africa as a whole. And I'm not one of those who hold the view that when someone fill the political space in opposition and cause a lot of noise and say derogatory things about someone in power, and then when they get in power, then they wish that all the noise should get quiet, and then they should lead quietly. I don't think that makes sense at all to me politically. So I don't fault any political institution who remain politically active in a political space, because I feel it's a part of the political process, and it helps our country to get stronger. Okay, so for the CDCians to have gone at the LACC chanting slogans in support of one of their own, I think is a normal political exercise that I saw President Boyka did when Brendan Samuka was taking at the Supreme Court. I saw Boyka and opposition did the same thing when former Chief Justice Gloria Mususka was taken to the Supreme Court, and so on and so forth. When in fact when Minicamon Dumont, one of our friends who young progressive, was taken to jail, we saw people going there as well. So I mean, this is normal political activity. What I would say about the LACC is that I do not trust the LACC.
But do you agree with CDC? CDC that is a witch hunt?
I don't trust any integrated institutions in Liberia right now because of how President Boyka manipulated 10 new positions in the country, put everybody in a state of fear and intimidation. And so I believe he can get them to do anything he wants them to do. If he wants to convince me, I think I would want to see him bring Grace Bay forward, bring Jake Kabakoli forward. I want to see him bring Giddings forward. I want to see him bring Mamaka Berete forward. I want to see him bring other members of his party forward and ensure that the answer for the immediate corruption that they've carried out on the overall. And I just to be clear on the record, because I know some of them are jumping me if I just shut up right now. I think it's a good practice for any of us to be obedient to the law. And when you are cited, you can show up and you can give justification and reasons for why you cannot be held liable for what they're accusing you of. The last time I checked, Dennis is close. I don't think when I saw the letter addressed to McGill, I didn't see him being accused of anything. What I think I saw was that he was being invited to aid the investigation.
So you disagree with some sedition that this is a witch hunt?
No, I think it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt on a broader scale of things. If you look at the bigger picture, it's a witch hunt.
Thank you. Let me go to Tom here. Tom, the government has audited some places, right? Let's say the LTA, the CBL, now the Presidential Affairs Ministry, State for Presidential Affairs. What do you think is the strategy here? What is the plan? Let's say if you are trying to imagine an audit plan, is it okay? Let's audit all the SOEs, or let's audit ministry. What do you think the government is getting at here, and what's the strategy? What's the plan? How are they going about it?
Thank you, Dennis. So before I come to what the government is doing and how they are going about it. I mean, like I said previously, the LACC wasn't created because Madam Sally herself wanted to create an LACC. The LACC was created as part of the debt that was relieved, as part of the debt relief program. So the brother thought at that time was that if we are going to relieve your debt, can we then put systems in place so that you can be able to manage your public finances so that you don't come back to us after a couple of years and say you should relieve our debt? So that's why you see, even when John Molu was at the GAC, there was a requirement that all the audits that were done need to be published. That's how you saw John Molu doing audits and publishing them in the newspapers in Liberia. So it was part of a bigger reform for transparency and accountability in Liberia. But unlike other countries, when we created ours, we subjected it to the Ministry of Justice without giving them direct prosecutorial power. So it's going to take a long time for us to really see the LACC biting. Also, on your previous question about why Senator McGill was invited, this is not related to his sanctioned indictment by the US government. This is an audit that was done on the Ministry of State. And one thing I want to clarify here is that before 2018, 2019, there were two remuneration systems in the government of Liberia. One was through the regular CSA civil servants that were paid through the CSA, and the other one was allowances. That means every time we pass a budget, there were resources in the budget where the head of a ministry, agencies, and commission could allocate these resources, hire people, and pay them through US dollars, which were the allowances. When we did the harmonization in 2019, we actually collapsed all these supplemental payrolls. We took all of them, all of the agencies that had the supplemental payrolls, and these supplemental payrolls were payrolls that were paying people through the allowance system. So they were merged together. So one of the sources of the harmonization was we had a single payroll. So that means we needed to get away from this allowance system and paying people through supplemental payrolls. So when the GSC does an audit at the Ministry of State, far beyond 2019, when a law was passed for harmonization, and yet still find that there are people being paid through allowances and being paid on supplemental payroll, then that is a violation of the harmonization law. So I think it is from this background that Senator McGill was called. And I think, like you said, previously he has said he's a free man because since he was indicted, nobody has called him. So I think this is something very separate. On the issue of what the government approach is, I think when the president, before he got elected, he said he was going to bring in external auditors to be able to do a whole of government audit. I think John Molu and others convinced him that the LACC, the GAC had the ability to be able to do these audits, and therefore they shouldn't bring in foreign firms. But much of the audits that we are hearing about, except the CBL audit, they are audits that were already going on. These are old audits. So the president has now commissioned an audit on the Ministry of State. This is a previous audit that was done by the GAC, and the LACC is coming in to be able to identify if there are criminal actions that took place, like the violation of the harmonization law that was passed. So I think the bigger strategy is that take action on the old audits that were done, and yet if there are new places where you want to audit, you then commission the audits for them to be able to go through.
But you look at the CBL, that was a new audit, right?
Yes, the CBL was commissioned. That was a new audit. And NSA was commissioned and decommissioned. That was a new audit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what are they trying to do here? Are they mixing the old and the new, or are they going to finish with the old before coming to the new?
But the point is, every time an audit is done in Liberia, you see, for instance, the Amara Corner Committee, the Clarence Guy Committee in the lower and the upper house, these audit reports go to the Public Account Committee. They go through them. But also when the audits are conducted, if the LACC sees that as part of the audit process, there are some actions that are criminal in nature, the LACC can pick them up. And this is not only in Liberia, like in Sierra Leone. Every time the GSC, the General Auditing Commission of Sierra Leone, conducts an audit, the Anti-Corruption Commission in Sierra Leone has an interest. It's not like, okay, you did procurement, you did not collect 2 quotes. But if there is anything that is in the audit that is border around criminality, the LACC can pick that up because that is their mandate.
Thank you.
So I think it's a combination of two.
Thank you. Jimmy, can you sit up a little bit? At least you are not that old to be slouching in your chair. Mr. Gaiman, every
Yes.
time there is and let me welcome also the Deputy Minister, Mr. Anthony Kwangwa. Welcome, sir. You are
Again, former deputy minister, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Put it
Man,
there.
once a minister, always a minister, man.
They still
Please.
call him President Bwaka ambassador. Even as his president, they still call him Ambassador Bwaka.
Anyway, it's good to have you guys on tonight again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman, you know, one thing I'm looking at, this whole idea of witch hunt is like, what I see here is some of the sedition have not denied that, yes, this is a, they're not saying no, I did not steal. They're just saying there's witch hunt, even though I steal, but catch the other rogue too. Is that what you're hearing?
No, and let me correct Mr. Mohammed Sharif here. He said nowhere in the world with a man who is accused of criminality ever come close to an office. I think he might be living on a rock when not only being accused, but Donald Trump, in the greatest country on earth, not only was he accused, but convicted of 34 felonies. And he's running for president. So, my brother Sharif here, I don't want to dig deeper, but I just want to bring him.
Yes, he has not been elected. He's not going to be elected. He's going to be defeated.
Listen, that's not what I'm saying. You say he
In
shouldn't come close.
Liberia, we've elected thieves.
Listen, you say he shouldn't come close to power. The man is one step away from retaining the office, but that's not the point.
I will give you that.
Mr. Jad, the reason why.
Jimmy, please move your body up. I want to see your head.
With me?
No, it's Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy, you're not drinking that plum wine again?
Bring your camera down a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Jerome.
Yes. You see, this is political marksmanship. The present government is drowning. And what they want to do is this distraction of the same old names that we have accused from the back during the past 6 years is either Jefferson Koji, Samuel Toer, and McGill. Those three names. Anytime you call those names, you are feeding the beast, the red meat to the base. It doesn't matter what they do. Now, here we go. If you are actually an honest person and you want to hit the ground running with corruption, and you have the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, before even being inaugurated, wrote a letter requesting, not even a request, but receiving $500,000 from our pension funds, which is totally illegal. And you said nothing. Here we are, Mr. Giddings, the Minister for Public Works, went to the Senate and apologized that he did something wrong. And they told him, yes, you were wrong, you stole the money, this and that, but we forgave you, go and sin no more. And then the World Bank comes out and said there were $8 million that were transferred overnight with all the approval. And people suspect that went to pay campaign debt. Then we have the inaugural ball, $750,000 that the president said he was investigating. Then we had the LDEA. These are crimes, supposed crime, men with guns fighting. He said he was going to investigate and he was going to make it clear within 2 weeks. And then you come out when a damning report, when the World Bank says they are suspending the Liberian government from having access to funding. And OPEC came out the same day and says that they are not going to fund this government until otherwise ordered. These are things, these are the distractions we are talking about. So Mr. McGill, Honorable McGill, being the smart man, politician as he is, he says, I'm not going to give these guys any reason to cause chaos. I'm going to go there. He went with his lawyer and told the folks that, listen, I work for my boss. I took an order from my boss, and what I did, you go and talk to my boss. Case closed. So you see, it's a marksmanship going on here. somebody trying to distract, and the other man trying to be like a weasel, say, I know what you're doing. You want me to say I'm not coming, so you can make a big case, but I'm coming, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it works. And this is where it is we are not discussing the promises made by this government that they were going to reverse the harmonization. People are going to get no payback during early time. We are not discussing the monies that have been used illegally. But here we are discussing Nathaniel McGill. And this is right within the hands and the strategy of this failed government. This is awesome for them.
Thank you. Mr. Morris. So we saw the CDC youth, this whole idea of militancy. Did they really have any business there, or is this same standoff? Because we've watched both the Unity Party and the CDC since 2005 do this.
Right. Thank you, Mr. John. Look, perceptions are some people's reality. And for many CDC, the perception is that this government is witch hunting former top officials of the CDC government. In my own estimations, I would say no, it's not a witch hunt. And I think Mr. McGill, Senator McGill, is sophisticated enough to do what a smart person would have done, is to appear and carry a lawyer with you, like he did. And I think had he not been a senator, he probably would have been arrested. I think that's one of the things that's protecting him, and they're giving him some form of respect since he's a sitting, a senator. And I think maybe Samuel Tour should have, contested against James Bonnie in Maryland. Maybe he would be a senator too, and they would not be looking for him on Interpol right now. But overall, I think the government is proceeding rightly on this particular case, because they show him the due respect. They invited him to come in and answer for some of, these, apparent improprieties. And he went there, made a statement with the assistance of counsel. And I think he handled it very well. Now, when you look at the overall fight against quote unquote corruption, like Mr. Gaiman, rightly said, there are things that's going on in this government right now that many CDCians look at and say, well, that's obviously, some sign of impropriety if it's not outright corruption. But our government, our current government, is playing a blind eye to it. So that's when people are saying that it's witch hunt, because if you see something going on right in your household and you act like it's nothing going on, but you're looking at your neighbor and trying to go after them, it's another issue. We're trying to make it simplistic, but the fact of the matter is, we have people who admitted to, openly to guilt in the upper house and ask for forgiveness. Acts of corruption, can it be forgiven just purely by asking for forgiveness? And this guy is still working in your government. You have somebody who pretty much usurped the president power in the office of the presidency, went in order and negotiated for yellow machines, and the president has said nothing about it. So we have people in this government right now who are doing things that is on the outside illegal or even downright corrupt. But our president is not even saying a word about it. So I think they won the three horsemen. They won Nathaniel McGill. They won Samuel Tour. And I'm sure the next person would be Bill Twire, because that's the three horsemen that was quote unquote leading the real government in their perception of corruption. And two of them are probably more protected than Samuel Tour. So they'll probably act carefully with them. Tour and not Tour, but Bill Twire, if I can say his last name right, and McGill. So for me, I think overall, CDCians, you have to be calm. Nobody has been convicted. There hasn't been any case that went to the court of law that was, some kind of kangaroo court where anybody was convicted some, arbitrary way. So keep your cool. You can go there for moral support as long as you don't engage in violence. That's completely fine. And these leaders and these former ministers and heads of agencies should go to these, interviews and these investigation with an open mind. Be smart, lawyer up, ask for more support from the CDC. And if you need legal help, ask for legal help. But don't try to be, strong manning against the legal and the justice system. Have to be law abiding. That's my mantra for tonight. Be law abiding.
Thank you. And I don't know when you became a law abiding citizen.
I'm a law abiding man for the day I was born, Mr. Job.
That's correct. This man never been arrested. What are you talking about?
The key word is sedition. Jimmy, Jimmy,
Yeah.
when you heard about the McGill summon, right? Did you wonder like me that with all the things they were pointing fingers at McGill, I mean, is this one? Did you have that feeling?
You,
I mean,
thank
we
you,
have
Mr.
heard a lot of things that even his mother's mausoleum that he buried money in that place, they sanctioned all the different things that he was the guy he was in fact the de facto president. So of all the corruption that we've heard of, when you heard this one, it was like, okay, I was expecting something big. Did you have that feeling?
No,
I did.
Mr. Jai, thank you so much for the question. And good evening to all you gentlemen on the panel. So it's a privilege to be here with you. You know, Mr. Jai, if there even is a quick desire, if there's a desire for quick justice, it's understandable, especially in cases of corruption. But shortcuts can undermine the integrity of the injustice system. So it will lead to unintended consequences. And that is why, if this administration is serious, they have to proceed with caution. They have to go with due process so that they will appear fair to all parties involved. We know the past election was very narrow. So we can agree that the CDC and the UP, the split between the two is very razor thin margin. So anything they do now, they have to make sure it doesn't appear as a violation of rights, as a lack of due process, to create what we call public distrust. And there is also international scrutiny that is being observed here. If this administration is actually serious about going after culprits that have cheated the government, then they have to proceed in a professional manner. And this is what has been missing so far. We do not see the professionalism that is required to go after political.
Jimmy, how does that look like, that professional manner you're trying to describe?
Number one, I just said it. We have to go according to due process. We have to seek the evidence. All right. After seeking the evidence, we have to provide an avenue for the defendants to defend themselves. Then, before we talk about bringing them to trial, we don't see the measured discipline within the system, and that is what's causing the problems. If these guys were proceeding with professional ethics and a professional method, we wouldn't have what we have today. And it appears that the administration is showboating. Because if I know, Ja allowed me to go into a different domain. If you want to build a network, we'll know if you're serious, because first of all, you got to plan the network. You got to determine the domain, the people who you're going to serve, and the capacity of the network required. Before you talk about the pathway to design and build it, we don't see this. And we just see the government going after people in a frenzy. We saw it when they were stopping taxes, taxes. They didn't even know who were the owners. We're seeing a lot of unprofessional methods of going after people. So would you blame the CDC for saying this is a witch hunt when you don't see the exercise of professionalism? Of course.
Thank
so
you.
Why are they doing this? I think that is the question we ask. Why is this mature 40 some more years in the government? Why are they doing things so ad hoc, so unprofessionally?
Thank you.
You know,
And Tom, I'm going to come back to you to respond to Jimmy because that's the question I was asking you. But let me go to Anthony. Anthony, I don't know. Are you worried that they're coming after you too with this dragnet?
Shit.
But here's my question for you. So far, all the people that are found in the JNB administration corruption dragnet have been either members of the former government or members of the CDC, right? If you see all of them, is it a ground for concern?
I have a lot to say, but hopefully I will have a few more seconds to say what I want to say about this whole corruption thing in Liberia. Perception is something that when you do not pay attention to, becomes a reality in other people's mind. Unfortunately, our country, Liberia, is one that somebody can just go on Broad Street and just, oh my man, Dr. Clarence just killed somebody in Douala. And trust me, somebody will leave from where that person made that statement. And if they met Dr. Clarence somewhere in Cinco, they will kill Dr. Clarence because somebody said on Broad Street Dr. Clarence killed somebody in Douala. That's the kind of society we're having. Okay, listen, wisdom. I could not have agreed with Mr. Eastman anymore. Wisdom is required in these times. Our country is so politicized. All right, the country is politically charged. Everything is now about politics. All right. Omen Boaka, the people of Liberia, despite President Weah's popularity, gave you a mandate. You have a 6-year mandate to lead that country. What are the primary issues right now we have in Liberia? Somebody alluded to the young people who go in with different politicians to different hearing and all that. The only reason you see people running behind people left and right in Monrovia is because they have absolutely nothing to do. Okay, if these young people know that it's supposed to be the 8 o'clock in the morning, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 6 p.m. in the evening, trust me, who's going to waste their time behind anybody? Nobody will do that. The government should prioritize employment for Liberian people. All right, this corruption thing, my brother Dennis, that's an old age discussion because you know what? Most people in the public sector are complicit. Most people in the public sector are complicit. Even this very government that we're talking about. I don't want to talk about now, but even before they even entered this other administration. All right. So if you want to address the issue of corruption as an older person, you got to use wisdom. You got fat children. All these fat beginning the baba. Your neighbor coming to you, they say, oh, the papi boy when he can't get because they get they say they don't want to get. And you, the old man, now you sit down and say, you know what? I need to operate in a way that none of my children will see that I'm siding with one. All right. So if you look at the thing that's going on in Liberia, and the CDCians are right to say they've been targeted because we all know stories. Nothing hides for anybody in Liberia, Dr. Clarence. We all know of what happened in 12 years prior to 2018. For anybody to assume that because President Weah did not go after people, it means stealing the last 12 years was okay. We're not coming for you. Since you come for all, that only all not coming come for you, you're looking for problem in the country. Yes. And as somebody said,
let me interject.
17,000 votes ain't nothing. Okay, 17,000 votes ain't nothing. That country is heavily divided. Let's do it the right way. We should not rush, and let's do it in the way that people don't feel you are going after one group of people, because that's how it seems now.
Right. So do you think President Weah did it the right way when he was in power, when he didn't investigate almost anybody? Did you think that was the right way?
So for the sake of this discussion, let's assume President Weah did not do it the right way. The Liberian people gave you the mandate now.
No, I'm asking you.
That's what I'm saying. Let's assume he didn't do it the right way for this discussion. However, the people of Liberia say, okay, say, Mr. Weah, you didn't do it the right way. Papa Joe, we gave you the mandate. Come and do it the right way. Okay? So we can be saying because George Weah didn't do it, you got the power now. Do it the right way so that everybody on all sides of the spectrum see that this thing is not about us. It's about bettering Liberia. And if it's about bettering Liberia, there are plenty of other names that are supposed to be running up and down right now. Not just few people.
But we can't even compare we are to what's happening. We can't even use the word, the qualifier right way. We are didn't do it at all. He didn't do it. So there's no right way or wrong.
So, that's what I'm asking, Mr. Kwangwa. Is that what is coming to haunt we are in the CDC?
So if that's the yardstick people are using to go after,
No, I'm asking you because he didn't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
So
I know during President Weah administration, I think for a couple of months, maybe a year or so, there was this asset recovery team that was set up. Okay. And I think it was headed by this guy, Johnson.
And Johnson.
Arthur Johnson was there. Okay. And Ja, I will encourage you to speak to Councillor Johnson and understand why all of a sudden that thing stopped. Okay, speak to him.
They wanted I don't know how many million to
apart from that money that they were asking for. Speak with him candidly.
President Weah gave a reason why he decided not to go after people. Whether you agree with his reasons or not, that's up to you. But he thought it was going to be real peaceful.
But Murray, let's agree. We've agreed.
Hold on. I don't want people to use the term "go after people," because if you say "go after people," it's kind of little nuance, right?
Okay, I'll take that term back. But to investigate and bring people to book for corruption, he felt like it would have derailed the peace in the country. And for some people, that's not a good enough reason. But for other people who looking from the outside would say, well, yeah, it's true. Liberia is unstable. There's a lot of elements within the country that could go wrong, and some people may interpret it as going after their people. We saw what happened with Brownie Samuka. I mean, that was a whole a big tobacco that happened in Lo-Fi County. People felt aggrieved. They felt people were targeting Lo-Fi. The Zoes, the elders, they all came out in defense of one man. So let's consider those things too.
Right. But the way people understood it is, I'm not touching you when your time comes. Don't touch me. But Tom, I wanted you to respond to Jimmy when I asked you about the approach.
I mean, in terms of the approach, I was speaking basically about the broader strategy that the government is pursuing. Let's go back to the previous audits that were done. If there are issues there, let the Public Account Committee have these hearings, and then they will eventually recommend to the president. Because you've even heard Representative Clarence Gar, for instance, saying to the president, don't take any action on an audit report that is before us because we have to complete the process and recommend to you. There are others that are saying no. If there are grievous issues that come out of an audit report, the president can take action while you go through your investigation. So I was only responding to that broader approach. I wasn't saying that they shouldn't follow the due process. All of these things are laid out in law. This is why I was saying, for instance, the reason why Senator McGill was asked by the LACC to go and explain what happened with the supplemental payroll is because there is already a law. We can no longer have a supplemental payroll. We only have a single payroll that is managed by the CSA and the Ministry of Finance. So how come after 2019 you are still having a supplemental payroll? On the issue of due process, the invitation to LACC is a due process. So these are all part of it. They are inviting people. Even the issue of the Samuel Twe indictment, the Deputy Minister for Budget, Samora Wolokoli, all of them were invited by LACC. That was the due process. They testified, they then realized that, okay, they said it was Samuel Twe who gave us the order to be able to transfer this money. So it is the due process. I will never argue against the due process. Whatever it is, it should follow the due process. But again, when somebody says that President Bouaka, you were giving a mandate, therefore focus on your mandate. One of the mandates he was giving is to address this issue of corruption. You're not going to create jobs in that country when you have people transferring $52 million to NSA and just moving the money all around and nothing happens. We need to stop this cycle of corruption. If it is going to start somewhere, then we can build a mechanism in the system such that if you do it today, the next person that is going to come is going to do it to you. And this issue of saying that if you address the issue of corruption, we are going to break out into conflict is not true. Just across both water side, the Anti-Corruption Commission in Sierra Leone has been recovering millions of leones, millions of dollars. They even asked the former president not to travel out of the country for some time. They didn't break out into civil war. So this whole issue of let's not fight corruption, the election was close, that's just negative peace. The peace where there is a lot of inequality, people are getting richer, while the vast majority of the people are getting poorer. And we say corruption is an age-old problem. If it is an age-old problem, let's start solving it now.
Yeah, but Tom, you are.
No, Thomas, there was widespread violence in Sierra Leone.
It was because of the election. It was because of the. It was because of the elections.
Treason. That's the reason why they asked him to not go away from the country. It was not because of corruption.
You think Modern Bill is a Sierra Leone is free? Sierra Leone is being oppressed right now.
It was because of the election.
Hold on. Let me come in.
It wasn't anti-corruption.
They accused him about treason. They accused him about his involvement in a coup plot. All right.
What I'm saying, the violence in Sierra Leone of late was.
If you understand, Sierra Leone is on edge right now. The country is divided. The violence might break out any moment.
Is the reason because they are investigating corruption? Is that why they are?
Is that the issue?
No, it's
people
not
feel targeted, politically targeted.
Dennis,
you saw what happened before even the election and after the election.
Because this corruption issue. Let me.
Real quick, Dennis.
I don't know if you want to answer this question. People keep asking.
Yeah.
Is this Thomas Kwangwa's son here? My question, I want Mohammed to get 30 seconds because the other issue we're going to is still the same corruption issue, so we'll come back to it. But Mohammed, my question to you is, Jimmy talked about the doing things the right way and the wrong way, going out in a frenzy, not it's rush bus traffic, because we see that in the government has gone after different people, right? Even in the death of Batin Yensua, they wanted people of interest. Where is that case now? The LDEA squabble that we saw on TV, where is that? We also saw even the issue where they wanted, I think Interpol is after 12 or maybe 9. So all these things, like they're doing pieces here and there. I want to respond to Jimmy. Are they rush? And because they are in a hurry to catch the big names.
No, what I will say to Jimmy is that there is a culture of don't not in my backyard. Don't touch my family member. Everybody else is corrupt, but don't touch my family member. Don't touch my schoolmate. Don't touch my friend. Don't touch my benefactor. These things are going on, and it's hurting the Liberian, government's effort to clamp down on corruption. And I think George Weah, in his wisdom, I would say, when he took over, realized that culture, right? And it's like, okay, I don't want to attack this. I don't want to get this person in jail. Now it's all these family members that are going to come out of the woodworks. All these family members are going to come at me, about their son. Let's take, for example, when the late Sirleaf was arrested, President Ellen Johnson, Sirleaf was bitter. I mean, she was vociferous. She came at George Weah very heavily, and what ended up happening at some point was that Mr. Sirleaf was released. So you have these things in Liberia. You touch anybody, right? You can see the reaction on this show. Nobody wants their partisan. I mean, big partisans like Gabe and others. You can't touch our CDC partisans. I mean, you touch our CDC partisan, they will go at you. I mean, you saw what Gabriel is doing. He has a litany of, and he knows how to put his stuff together. So he has a litany of stuff that he's going to throw at the government because the government is going at for corruption. The government is going at, is eventually going to go at Jefferson Kwiji for corruption and whatnot. So people are like, don't, and it's this culture is endemic in our society, and because of that, it's very, very hard to fight corruption. So I think, Jimmy, is just part of that culture that we have to get rid of. At some point, there was a man called Chair Chipo. Chair Chipo was from the Southeast, and Chair Chipo was the Chief Justice at one point in Liberia. And Chair Chipo never mind he was from the Southeast, but his intention was then, he as this one man, he was going to go in, and I'm just looking at a particular time period. I'm not looking at Chair Chipo from 1980 to 86. I'm just looking at Chair Chipo from 87 to 88. So that's my frame of reference. Chair Chipo tried to reform the judicial system of Liberia. You know, he was from the Southeast, and he knew that what the project that he was undertaking was not going to be popular. He did it anyway. But what ended up happening was he paid for it. He paid the price for being, you know, upright in the Liberian society. So this stuff, and by the way, I was one of those, you know, kids at the Supreme Court, you know, cheering on Mr. Chair Chipo when he was being, you know, put in front of the kangaroo court to be impeached. So these are the kind of things that happen in Liberia. You know, you can't touch this person. Don't touch my brother. Don't touch my sister. Don't touch my, you know, my political leader, you know, like Gaiman is doing here tonight. And so these are the things that happen. And so we have to get rid of that.
Dennis,
Yeah, I need to respond to Mr. Salif. Mr. Salif.
I want us to go to the next one, the Ray at the CDC headquarters, and that will bring, and you can comment on this too, right? So we read in the story that LDEA had a warrant to search near the CDC headquarters. I don't know how it ended in the CDC headquarters where they were throwing stones and then with tear gas. On August 5th, the same thing happened, right? So, Mr. Salif, what happened yesterday? Was it surprising at the CDC headquarters? And why?
Yeah, it was not surprising. We set that up to happen. Nothing was surprising. And that's a failure of leadership. You see, President Weah is dishonest. President Bouaka is also dishonest. President Weah used these young people. Liberia's population is more than 60% youthful. In 6 years, President Weah used these children to climb to the ladder with the ladder of success and dumped them. 6 years, he did nothing for them. He created no empowerment scheme. He created no employment. He created no opportunities for these young people. What kind of sound leader in his right mind would believe that I can just have people just loitering around and I can use them whenever I want? You are not a good leader. A good leader wants to empower people. You meet people at a point, you take them from that point and put them at another level. How will able-bodied young men and women, we're not in election season. Why are they still in the CDC compound? What are they doing? There's no employment there. There's no job because they have nothing to do. So they just go there every day and they just sit there waiting for these kind of opportunities. So it's a failure on leadership. We came from war. We have a very dark past. The 14-year civil war was very brutal. It was very unnecessary because we learned nothing from it. We did not gain any benefit from fighting the war. All those people who died, their life was just wasted for nothing. We come from that kind of dark past. Every Liberian leaders who care about the country should be very serious about youth empowerment, youth enlightenment, and all these things. No, we got these young people, we put them in beret, and every day they're chanting war cry. Is that what we need for a post-war country? Rwanda fought war the same time. Rwanda lost people the same time. In 2 weeks, Rwanda lost almost 1 million people. Look at the case study. Compare apples to apples. Where is Rwanda today? Rwanda is a success story in the community of nations. Look at Liberia. We leave this in youth vulnerable and we keep exploiting them for political gains. That's what we're doing. So it was not a surprise. The stage was already set for that. Even if the police went somewhere else, they already were trickled because that is what we are wants. That is what the seditionists want. Just not empower these young people. Just keep them there and keep exploiting them. You use their back to climb at the ladder of success and dump them. And then you come back to them. And because they are not gainfully employed, they will follow any fool. So I'm not surprised. It was already set up to happen that way.
Yeah, Mr. John.
Dr. Pearson, do you agree with Dr. Salif?
Look, I disagree 101%. And unfortunately, that response set me up to look like I'm a seditian when I'm actually a supporter of Alexander Cummings because of his
ANC came out of CDC, so
a successful career in the private sector. Let me disagree. You know, this is the same rhetoric that causing the current administration to be struggling right now. That maximalist, negative maximalist criticism where everything is seen to be wrong, without taking the time to dissect the dynamics and the factors that impacted the administration of the Weah regime. And forgive me to say this, Jai, and I'm saying that forgiving to my political leader, Alexander Cummings. Look, listen, President Weah took office when donor support was having a meltdown. President Weah took office when our security was being totally left into our own hands. President Weah took office when Liberians did not have the same capacity for maintaining expatriates that were being paid by other international bodies to help to strengthen our system. President Weah took over when Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf at the end of her tenure.
I get it. What are that crying for?
Listen, I'm going
through it. I get that point.
Madam Ellen at the end of her tenure had watered down all the integrity structures that could have served as a long-term sustainable measure for system check and balances.
Okay, let me stop you there. Give me an example of that statement you made.
All right. So if you went to check that Liberia received the highest donor support under Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf,
the one about integrity institution being watered down. That's what I want you to pinpoint.
Okay. So we did have several institutions in the GSC, for example. John Molu was totally strong-netted, whatever word I want to use. He was totally blacked out of doing his professional service at Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf because he was bold enough to tell her that she was endorsing corruption in her administration. She came up and said on public radio that she would put her neck down for Gafuan. Gafuan did no wrong at the Ministry of Finance and took him to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from Finance to Foreign Affairs. That makes no sense. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf also said she put her son over Nokai because she couldn't trust no one other than her own family member.
She watered down the integrity institution.
That's what I'm telling you. How would GSC do her work when Madam Ellen Johnson strangulated the GSC?
What is
LACC?
Don't forget what she did to Councilor Gonglo too. Don't forget what she did to Councilor Gonglo that made him resign.
So get to your point. I guess.
Let me learn. I'm not saying
disagree with Sirleaf.
That's why I feel humiliated to disagree. Because we need to put this thing in perspective so that our people's expectation out there is balanced. Because once we continue to push rhetoric that demonize a leadership and don't lay the foundation for the actual facts that are affecting us, we'll not get the solution. So I think what is happening, Mr. Dennis, I will say this, and I want to be very clear about this. Our current situation does not necessarily have to mean that the other person fails, so we must build on that as a means of making ourselves look good. I mean, I totally disagree with Mr. Sirleaf on that.
Yeah, but I said he used the youth and got to power.
Let me come to
I can disagree with you on that point effectively when I get a chance.
Let me come to the youth.
Even the sport that he played, he did not develop it.
Let me come to you. Let me come to you, Mr. Sirleaf. You know, when I'm passionate about George Manuel Weah, it's not just because I am a CDC, I'm not a CDC. But let me say this for a fact. George Manuel Weah did more for youth in Liberia than Madam Ellen Johnson 12 years did for youth in Liberia. And I will tell you why. I will tell you why. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was constrained to operate under donor integrity, donor supervision, donor manipulation to ensure that what she did was done right. Under President George Manuel Weah, it was left to the Liberians themselves to figure out the best way forward to govern themselves. And look at Liberia. No, look at Liberia today. Prior to Joseph Boca taking power,
let me come in, Mr. John, please.
Those are the
President Weah did more for youth. So I wanted you to hear that.
Show the proof.
Dennis,
Show the
one
proof.
second. Yep,
Show
Dennis.
the proof.
All right. Okay. Thomas.
No, you have to show the proof. No, you have to show the proof.
One second.
Hold on, Clarence.
This whole issue, George Weah took over, the donors are left, security was turned over. It's a lack of understanding of the developmental process.
I'm telling you.
When you go to civil war, you end the civil war, you move from humanitarian to development. When George Weah was taking over, he needed to have understood that we were no longer a humanitarian state. We were transitioning to a developmental state. And therefore, when he came to power, he needed to understand that we're going to take over our army. They call them the blue beret. They don't stay in your country forever. They came. That's why we call them peacekeepers. When they come and there is peace in your country, we had election in 2005, we had election in 2011. They left in 2018. So this whole crowd that when he took power, Ome left, and then donor aid was not coming. Donor aid is always flying around the air. If you want to get it, do the needed reforms to be able to get the aid.
Yes.
Aid is never going to go away. We are part of the aid system. You have to work for it. They fail consistently the MCC scorecard, for instance, until when it was catching up with them, they wanted to pass it for the election. So spare all this whole rounding of
No, I think you're trivializing the exodus of serious money.
I mean, yeah, they never articulated that.
One second.
Did you ever say?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
No, Mr. John giving the mic.
When they develop the programs, we will attract the donor support. Just we have developed no programs.
One second. Let's agree. 1 second. Yeah, let me just finish. My point is, we are not denying the fact that the withdrawal of OME withdrew foreign cash from our economy. Because all the money that was pouring in for them to buy food, for them to rent and other things. But as a responsible political party, when you were taking over, these were all the analysis that the CDC should have done when you were coming to power. But you don't come to power, you don't do anything. And I agree with Mr. Salif 100%. The biggest support base of the CDC is the young people in the slum community.
Young people.
They threw them away.
Mr. Jackson, let me come in here, please. Let me come in.
That's a policy.
And then Clarence is coming.
That's a policy.
Let Morris go.
So I beg you, Clarence, spare all that your.
No, and that's a policy. If you ever own, if you're in Liberia,
To be,
Go ahead.
Mr. John, let me say this to both Thomas and Mr. Salif, right? Youth in that country, they're born almost with an innate love for George Weah. When they do a simple Google search of the most influential Liberian in the history of our country, it is George Weah. People have a genuine and a genuine love for him. So don't say he used them to ride on their backs to get the power. They have a natural love for him. Why do people like Trump in this country?
So he benefited from their love.
No, he benefited from the love that they developed for him. He didn't bamboozle them into voting for him. He didn't do any kind of juju or voodoo for them to vote for him. They love him because of what he did for the country, what he contributed in his sportsmanship, what he contributed to the country. He made the country proud. That even kids who grew up, who were born 10 years ago, when they look at the history of our country and they look at people who have made our nation proud, George Weah is on that. It's at the pinnacle of it. So don't say that he used them. He didn't use them. They loved him, and they expressed their love politically for him also by voting for him. He didn't use anybody. Don't make that statement.
I agree with Mr. Morris.
Hold on.
Yeah, but when you make that statement, you're trying to denigrate him. You're trying to denigrate what you mean to the people of Liberia.
Why was he voted out?
That's not a argument, Thomas. You were voted because of negative propaganda and campaign.
Because of propaganda. And people ganging up against him out of jealousy. That's what it is. When you guys are doing your critical analysis, you never mention that the UN left with over $500 million being taken out of the economy. You never mention that the $1 left, the entire security system was wobbly. You never mention that. You wouldn't mention about the donor this, the donor that. You never mention those key areas.
I acknowledge that. I said this is
why. No, now you acknowledge it. During the campaign time, you never acknowledge it.
No, as a
you never acknowledge it during the campaign time. And that's being disingenuous. You never acknowledge it.
All right.
If you're a smart man, you would say any government would struggle under these circumstances. When you take over $500 million from your economy on a yearly basis, when you remove UN troops, that's going to make things very sketchy for any government that's coming into place. And then you have COVID that came in after that. I mean, we have to be balanced with our analysis, and that's why we're attacking you guys, because you were not balanced and you were not being honest. That's why.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Dennis, let me touch one.
Argument for a long time.
Yeah.
If you take over your own country, and you are telling me, oh, Papa not here, so
right.
So what did he do as a result? Because we
He kept the peace. That's one thing that we always say. He kept the peace, right? He kept the peace. That's first of all. He grew our national reserve. He grew that.
That's why you should.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when Thomas said he didn't do anything, Mr. Shirley said he didn't do anything. It's not true. Yeah, take him over. We can point to the show that he did improve certain things. I'll pass the mic, Mr. Point, where you can take over. I'll pass the mic there.
Dennis,
Thank you.
You know, one thing I wanted to talk about tonight was some of the reason for the tension in Liberia right now is as a result of the different social media platforms now, all the different talk shows, everywhere. And everybody's spinning to make people to think the way they want people to think, looking at blue and making it to look like purple and all that. That's why Brother Thomas is on here, right? So Brother Thomas will sit in the studio and just throw out information, all right? But let me say this to you. When former President Sirleaf was leaving the stage in her last State of the Nation's address, she alluded to the difficult economic times are ahead for Liberia. She said that we are about to enter in some of the most difficult economic periods in our nation's history. To compound that, UNMIL was spending about 100 million in your economy annually. Just we are government came in July, UNMIL departed Liberia. There were several thousand Liberians that were being paid through the different organizations that were operating in the country at the time of Madam Sirleaf's government. Those people had to be transitioned onto the government payroll. So there are a lot of things that George Weah did. Listen, I voted for George Weah in 2023, and I have zero regret for that. Okay? I am not a sedition. I am not a Unity Party partisan. All right? I voted for Ellie in 2005, for the Unity Party in 2005. But when we come to these platforms, let us be honest to the Liberian people. For somebody to sit on a platform and want people to believe the problems of Liberia started 2018 and ending in 2020 and ended in 2022. No, people are saying that was the worst period of the governance structure of our country. When you make that kind of statement, it means that you are not honest with the Liberian people. All right?
So, Mr. Kungo, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think President Weah understood the enormity of the situation he was getting into? In
my honest opinion, President Weah wasn't a politician.
No.
I come in, you ask me a question, I can just want to answer your question like that. All right. He wasn't a quote-unquote politician like the aliens of the world, right? Like the Tipotes of the world. There are a lot of things that a typical politician, people who have been into, governance structure, people who have dealt with these governance issues will understand that President Weah clearly did not understand getting into power. Okay? But he did a lot of things for that country that today, people who criticize the harmonization thing, like, bro, harmonization, blah, 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 blah. 7 months now. This budget year will come and go. The next budget year will come and go. The Unity Party government is benefiting from the harmonization policy of George Weah. That's something very good. And George Weah only managed to do that because of the popularity he has in our country. Because that wasn't an easy decision. You know what it means? I was deputy minister. Prior to the harmonization, my net, I can talk it freely, right? Because I ain't got nothing to hide. Net salary of a deputy minister prior to harmonization was when you put the 80% USD and the Liberian dollar, it was like 4,000, 4,004 or 500, right? Net when you put in US dollar combined. But there's 80% that will come in USD. There's 20% of that will come in LD. Harmonization. After harmonization, deputy minister salary came down to $3,135. All right. So that was not an easy decision to make. And George Weah didn't just run with it from his bedroom to Jalatan. It went through the national legislature and became a law of that country. Because
That was something that hurt him politically, but benefited the country.
Prior to that time, there are people earning $25,000 in Liberia under the Unity Party government. But Brother Thomas will sit here and don't talk about some of those things. In Liberia, people are earning $30,000 a salary monthly in Liberia. Thomas will sit here and don't talk about it. So let's be honest with our people, man.
Thank you.
Then give me 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 10 seconds.
But Thomas, I won't tell you what.
Yeah, but I don't know why not giving some people time.
Mr. Eastman got to come in because Thomas Allen had his
Come on, I won't do that.
No, 1 second, 1 second.
I've been
Hold on, come on.
Dennis,
Come on, let's write it down.
No, Daniel, just 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Write it down.
My
Let
point-
Jimmy
my-
come.
No, my point is, George Weah taking over in 2018 should have done all of these analysis. Yeah, Ome is leaving the country. It is going to dip. We are entering a developmental state. And the issue of Hamona, he did not do the analysis. They just ran into, he suspended all the ministers. They didn't read the turnover notes. They left the government with the HR directors and they took over and ran the government from 2018 until 2019 when the economy practically broke down. Inflation was 30%.
No,
That's
no.
1 second,
That's
1
correct.
second,
Who
1
suspended all the
second.
ministers?
Hey man, 1 second.
That is not correct. You don't give us
But
a
who
false
suspended all the
information.
ministers?
George
Thomas,
Weah
look, we respect your expertise, but you always start with a political lens, and we see through that.
No, 1 second.
Let him finish. Then Jimmy
I'm
When
can
did
ready.
talk.
George Weah suspend all his ministers?
1 second. I work on public sector reform when the
When did
government.
George Weah suspend all his ministers?
George Weah put a circular out that all the ministers should leave and turn the ministries over to HR directors. You were
You're
not in
talking
the
about the night before the
Oh
inauguration?
my God! Give me 1 second. Let me just finish. You said you
Let him
work in the
finish. Then
government.
Jimmy come in.
You said you work in the government. You did not hear George Weah asking all the ministers and deputy ministers to leave and turn the ministries over to the HR directors.
When?
1 second before he took over, when he had won between November and January. What I'm saying to you is that as a party that was taking over government, you do all of the different analysis. I heard Elvis talking about reserve went up.
Thomas, you are wrong. When did George Weah suspend people before he took over?
He did not suspend. He asked them to leave. Turn
When?
over to HR director. Go back and Google.
When?
Google.
What did Waka do?
No, I can't mean that. At the point I'm trying to get him on when.
Before George Weah took over, before inauguration.
But before George Weah took over, what authority he has to suspend ministers when he was not the
He
president
was
of the country?
acting president. He was
Acting.
Wait, how can you say you were acting president? What acting president, Thomas? Come on, man.
Until January 20th.
Hold on.
When they were doing the
That's an unlawful order for the minister to even take. He's not president.
Oh boy.
1 second, man. You
Let me drink some plum wine, man.
Before George Weah
Dennis.
took over, George Weah said he asked all the ministers to turn over. We can Google it and can give
That
you the
is false and misleading.
So my point is,
How can
George
you are
Hold
not
on,
acting
hold on,
president?
Thomas.
Oh,
Hold on,
God.
Thomas.
I mean, what
Thomas,
kind of
hold on. Let him
problem is
finish.
that?
You
listen
told
to
me
go
that.
ahead.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Anthony.
But Mr. Jai, he said 10 seconds.
Because they're not giving me
You're
chance.
not giving-
And this
you're
is
not giving
Friday
me
night
chance to learn.
debate. This is Friday night debate. I have to debate the issue. My point is that George Weah did not take over government with a lot of preparation. They broke down the government.
If Waka did, how
One
can he
second.
fluttering?
That only follows your perception that he's incompetent. He's not.
If Waka has the competence, how can he flutter?
So to Elvis, the reason why our reserve is up is because of the support that we got through the special drawing right from the IMF during the COVID. So COVID was not even much, it did not take much away from George Weah. To an extent, it helped George Weah. This is why our national budget went from 600 million to 800 million. So don't
Thank
bring
you.
that your thing to me.
Thank you,
So
Thomas.
Dennis,
Jimmy.
Morris.
Hold on, let me go to Jimmy.
Morris
Yeah.
and Kurok back in after me. I won't respond to them.
But
Hold on,
listen,
let me go to Jimmy first.
Deninja, when are you going to call me? I'm not spoken. I mean, what's
No,
going
Mr.
on
Eastman
here?
gotta go, Mr. Gary. Mr. Eastman
Yeah.
wanted to go a long time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jimmy, then you.
Okay. Listen,
So Jimmy,
I've been.
my question.
uh-huh.
Jimmy, here's my question for you. What really happened? What do you know happened in the CDC headquarters and why?
When today?
Yes, yesterday.
Yesterday, rather.
Yeah.
Okay. From my understanding, there was a supposed warrant issued to arrest some drug dealers in Small Town. Small Town is a community directly behind the CDC headquarters. And accordingly, when they went to execute the warrant, they were resisted and they could not execute the warrant. So they had, in fact, they were beaten back and they had to leave. But then during their departure, there was a call for the national police to come on the scene. When the national police showed up, what ensued was taunting and various stone throwing that eventually led to the national police breaching the CDC compound. So the question remains, why was the drug warrant issued soon as the president left the country? Why was it issued at that time? And if it was only the drug warrant they were pursuing, how did they allow the police and the CDC elements to escalate into a full conflict that got people hurt, into the hospital and all of that? What it shows that it was, again, one of a mishandling of the authority of the administration. And this is what we've been talking about. Of course, everybody wants the administration to pursue corrupt officials, to pursue retrieving.
Are you suggesting the administration told the people from the CDC headquarters to come in, or what's the mishandling?
Look, when you send a battalion or a squadron of police officers to a political rival, there's going to be some agitation.
Mm-hmm.
It is only natural. Now, if you send them there to keep the police, if you send them to keep the peace, that is one thing. But if you send them to there and they're thinking they are pursuing a warrant, or they're pursuing
coverage. You just said it, right? When the DEA went, they were resisted, and so they called the police.
Yeah, but they didn't call them.
But it had nothing to do with CDC. It was behind CDC compound. It was not in the CDC compound.
Listen, what we're trying to say, Mr. and I, especially to Thomas and Mr. Shirley, they are not going about it professionally. That is what's giving them problems. No one said they shouldn't pursue justice in the country, but you have to be fair and you have to be transparent, or it will be perceived as a witch hunt.
But Jimmy, in that case, how should they have pursued that situation?
Mr. John, am I going to speak? Am I going to speak here?
Yeah, you're going to speak. Let me tell a story, and then you speak, right? Because what this reminds me is my nephew Rufus. Rufus used to like food business, so when he keep a food in my sister's room, anybody pass when he have food, he keep it in the refrigerator. He says to the door, whoever goes in that room, Rufus feel he's going to eat his rice. To the extent that he will guide the door. So I don't know if there's somebody, the people in the CDC headquarters know something that they are guiding their place, just like cousin Rufus or my nephew Rufus. The second thing is, I told the story again about two guys in near my village, Sakla Beta and Tutu Jabwe. One was a drunk and one used to set trap. But this guy who led liquor business everywhere, secular better had a palm one tree that is always the place you can set trap and you know you can finish from behind liquor. Right? So how is it that the DEA is always going around where CDC headquarters is to look for drugs?
There you go, Mr. Jai. That's the question of the night.
And then the other question I have is
especially with a sensitive.
One second. The next question is, why is my nephew Rufus always sitting to the door with switch, thinking that soon you pass there that he rides you going for? Do people in the CDC headquarters post something somewhere that when they see the DEA passing, they feel threatened?
No, that asked the first question first. The first question is more relevant.
No. Let me go to Jerome.
Well, we got evidence, and today it was unveiled. The DEA officially wrote a letter reprimanding the leader of the squad. First of all, there's something in law called territorial jurisdiction. Why were the DEA going to the CDC headquarters and getting a judge in neutral town, way across town, out of the jurisdiction, to give them a warrant? Why? When you have circuit courts, you got justice of the peace, you got everything in that area. Why go all the way across town? That tells you that they were looking, what we call fishing. They were fishing for a judge that would be sympathetic to their cause. And what did they do? The question asked was, why the CDC camp? You went to do a drug bust. Did you do the drug bust? Did you receive anything? Did you see anything? He said, the gentleman said, they went for the drug bust and some of the drug dealers ran into the CDC compound and they pursued them.
You can't do that. It's illegal.
And the question was, why are the people there? Well, CDC has, that compound has a vocational school. It has everything. It's like a boarding school. People
freedom to assemble at any time of the day, Mr. Gaiman. That's why they're there.
And they have the right to be there. It is their territory. So here we go. Now that those photographs have gone viral internationally, it is embarrassing. Today, the DEA put out a memo accusing one of their top gentlemen for proceeding wrongly, and he suspended an honor investigation, which we know to be a cover-up. Now, somebody asked, President Walker said this. He said, during early time, we could have taken all the young people from behind George Weah, but we squandered the opportunity. When I come, I'm going to make sure that those children will never see George Weah anymore. And today, here he is, instead of catering to these young men and women to make them whole, to distract them from the CDC, he is actually making them hardened by going on their compound, people shooting, people doing all of these things. So what I'm saying here is, when you get that memo, I told Mr. Jai, you have that memo. All of a sudden, the U.S. Embassy got involved. The memo came out this afternoon that they are reprimanding people for proceeding wrongly for doing what they did. How could you leave a jurisdiction and go to Nuku Town, of all places, Nuku Town, to get a warrant for somebody?
I think you're conflicting two things, Mr. Gaiman. I think that was the one about the search of the president's home. That was signed by a clerk.
That one went before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court knocked it down. They are split on that. I'm talking about this particular one.
The news is that the clerk signed it, and he's in jail right now for forging the judge's signature on that alleged warrant to search the president's home.
So when you talk about what did he do for the youth, I'm from Grand Bassa County. The Doris A. Williams Stadium was totally refurbished, as they did in Nuku Town, as we did to the all the parks in Monrovia, all the parks we are talking about when they talk about
free tuition helps the youth.
Tuition. These are things that he did. And someone said he didn't do anything for the young folks. Pastor Salif, I disagree with this man. Did so much for the children around the country that 6 months is not enough. So
not grandma can take why you can take why free why fees.
free
hold on,
wire,
Evans.
free college
I mean,
education. What else do you want?
Yeah,
that
In 6
is-
years.
Dennis, if when you listen to Jerome, I mean everything the CDC is flowery. But listen,
No.
George
You see, you're
Weah
not
has
debunking what I said. Did he do the
George-
part? Did he do
George
what
Weah-
Did he do free
Hold-
education? You're not
hold on,
debunking
Jerome.
what you
Hold on,
did last
Jerome.
week.
Excuse
Debunk what I said.
Hold on, Jerome.
George Weah has a responsibility right now to tamp down this tension.
Oh,
The
Lord.
responsibility is on him. Look, since his defeat, the CDC has turned into this protest party, right? So there is a job. The job of the opposition is not just to get in the street and protest for everything, even if it's not reason to protest.
Mr.
And
Felly,
when
you
you're
were here.
protesting,
You were here
and
for
when you're
June
pro-
7.
and when you're protesting,
Mr. Felly, you were
excuse me,
here with June
excuse me,
7. You
excuse
were
me.
here
Mr.
with
Goodman.
bring our money back. You were here. You and I were on this platform.
Mr. Goodman,
And you
hold
said
on.
it was right.
The CDC have not even held one protest in this government. They have not been allowed to hold one protest.
Morris.
Even when you're protesting, this has to be carried out within the confines of the rule of law. It has to be. You have to conduct yourself in a way
Mr. Sherry, I have a question for you.
that you're. Yeah, let me just let this fall. That you're respecting others. That you're not being violent. But look at what Jefferson Koji and others are saying. Look at Akaras Gray and others. Akaras Gray, who marched onto the University of Liberia campus during the CDC era, and who was the instigator of violence on the University of Liberia campus. These today are the very people who all of a sudden are the new revolutionaries. Give me a break.
Sally, you were here when Costa said they were going to kill the president and bring his head
Jefferson
on Broad
Koji
Street.
and others, guys who perpetrated the attack on CDC, on soup militants, on soup students, on soup members in front of the United States Embassy. These are
When
the
they
guys,
beat a luscious house in LU and it damaged his car, and it damaged the Solicitor General.
the same guys. They are now, all of a sudden, they are the newfound militant. Give me a break. Give me a break. What these guys are doing.
I have not
What
said
these guys
anything
are
on the
doing.
subject yet, though.
Dennis, what they are doing.
Here's my question for you.
Yeah, but let me lay this thought. They are instigating violence. They are instigating violence, and there is a need now for the Department of Justice, the Minister of Justice, to look into this, because the security of the country is important than Jefferson Koji and his collaborators.
There you go.
What the guy get this Jefferson Koji? Every time he was called Jefferson Koji.
Evans.
They killed somebody on camera in
Okay,
Foya. You didn't say anything.
Hold on, Gayman. Jerome, my question for you, Mohammed, is the whole LDEA. Do you think they proceeded rightly? And the leadership, I don't want to call it leadership vacuum, but we saw what went on there, and those leaders were suspended. Since then, there's nothing being heard about the investigation and the findings. Does that have anything to do with the way they are behaving now?
It does. It does. That's why on this show, I said that A.B. Kroma should not have been suspended. A.B. did nothing to anybody. He was provoked into a situation. He wasn't supposed to be suspended. And so A.B. is now suspended. And this whole issue, right? Now we can't hear anything about this, right? So whatever happened, right? So there's a lack of sometimes in these agencies, you really need professionals in these to head these agencies, to conduct the affairs of these agencies, right? It seems like there is a leadership vacuum. That being said, it's not a reason. It's not a license for these CDC supporters to start to throw stones and projectiles at law enforcement. Law enforcement have to do their job. Law enforcement have to do their job, because if you put yourself in that position, you put yourself in harm's way, and you've opened yourself to anything that comes after
to be
that.
killed. Yeah, to
And
kill them.
usually the result is not pretty, as we found out during the CDC era, when a Kara's Grid marched onto the university campus, brutalized students, and CDC militants marched onto the U.S. embassy.
What's about 4 years?
But
What's
Mr.
about 4
Shady,
years?
who was taught during the other session here?
On camera.
Who never
What's
Mr.
about
Shady was
that?
taught during this session?
Mr. Kumpa, I'm coming to
10
you.
minutes. 10 minutes now, Mr. Shady.
Dennis,
You're talking.
Dennis,
I'm
did I
coming-
even?
let me go to Anthony.
Okay, I'm going to add on, but these are the things
Kumpa
that I have
he
to
already spoke.
No, not on this issue.
I had Dr. Pearson. I had
I've not spoken
Elvis.
on this
I had
issue.
Kumpa. I had Eastman. Everybody attacking me for something I did not even say.
All right.
Because Seditians.
No, I never said anything about you.
No.
Anthony, go ahead. Anthony,
Yeah,
let's
thank you.
look
You
at
see-
the this militant. And
Thank you.
now, right, currently CDC is the champion of it. This whole militarizing the youth.
Rap beret stuff.
Yeah. So thank
Do
you,
you
John.
have a problem with that?
So thank you.
But
CDC, as they call themselves, I don't want. I mean,
you got your own beret?
talking to. Listen, CDC, the people say the party, the massive, I think got a massive party, right? But listen, Dennis.
Grassroots.
Jimmy, how come you don't know CDC? You don't
it
see
hurts
people,
me
you
to
know
my
about
stomach.
their
Dennis,
thing.
it hurts me to my
CDC
stomach.
member incognito.
Yeah,
It
hey, you
hurts
get a
me.
man chance now to talk.
It hurts me to my stomach when anyone Liberian is injured or that person die. All right. We also have a responsibility to tune down our rhetorics, to tune down the tension that is in Liberia. The image from yesterday is not good for our country going forward. All right. President Bouaka is the president of the Republic of Liberia. Everything begins with the president. And I'm hoping and praying that when he returns to Liberia on Sunday, as they're saying, he will deliver a message to the people of Liberia that will bring calm and peace to the situation. There will be folks around the president who will be encouraging him to tune up the pressure. But that will not be the best way for Liberia. Whether any one of us on this platform like it or not, George Weah remains the most popular individual in the Republic of Liberia. His people will always be with him. The president is the father of the nation. Whatever it is we want to do with George Weah, let's do it in the ambit of the laws of Liberia. But trying to do it, I think I call it Kidikata way. That was Liberian parlance, right? Kidikata way would not be good for that country.
Thank you.
If there was an investor who was thinking on going to Liberia day after tomorrow, from what happened yesterday, that person will start to rethink. And the very young people we're talking about today, they will still be in the situation that they're in, jobless, and have nothing to do.
Oh.
So as we take to these different platforms, let us be objective. Let us not say corruption started in 2018 and ended in 2023.
Nobody said
Liberia, no, I just saying something. Liberia's problem started from the day that country became the Republic of Liberia. We saw people in government giving their properties for government to rent. It was okay at the time. Okay, people defended those decisions. Certain group of people can say, okay, the other people here, they used to rent their property to government so that all the time here, me are going to be 50 mansion. All right. The other group will come, the other men finish getting 50,000 here, come and 100,000 in the first 3, 4, 5 months. That has been the problem of our country. At what point then?
Are you trying
We
to throw
say-
jab at the president condominium? Is that why
At
you're saying
what
that?
point? At what point will we say then? Let it be about Liberia.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Let
so
me-
what I'm
give me-
saying.
The president helping with a housing crisis in Liberia. He want people to build a house homes to live in. When he build
All right,
condominium.
And let me
let
tell you
me
something.
announce, ladies and gentlemen,
Just
if-
1 second.
if-
That
1 second.
president condominium has benefited Liberia though.
Exactly.
The last Lone Star coach, the white guy, boxer from South Africa. All right. Boxer, the government of Liberia had to rent place for that guy, but he was living in one of those condominiums for the 3 years he was coaching Lone Star. Oh yeah, that's one good. Oh, let's talk about that once more now.
So
No,
what was
no,
the return on
you
investment?
sound like McGill, right? Oh, when I see the money that Guinea are carrying.
The development for Liberia is always good.
Then we gotta
Okay,
talk
so
to
you
it. Then we
can
gotta
still
talk.
and develop. But
I know
before I bring in
Thomas, come back
Pastor
now.
Saleh,
Now you there.
let me announce that if you want to join the conversation this Friday night debate, the number is 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. I have callers waiting already, so Pastor Saleh, let me give you a minute.
Thank you, Dennis. You know, Gamer is one of the brains that I lean on this show. The man is sharp, but it's like there's some kind of water that seditious drink. When they drink it, their reasoning just vanish. You know,
You see it? Oh, okay.
Hold on. You making your own argument.
Yeah,
Building a
thank you.
stadium is not youth. Building stadium is not youth empowerment. That is infrastructural development. Paying wire school fees is not youth empowerment. It's assistance to the youth. I never said we did nothing in the country. I said the young people he used to climb the ladder of success, he did not empower them. You cannot negate that. He did. Empowering youth is developing programs. After you build the stadium,
Affordable education is empowerment.
can you allow me to finish? I sat there and waited. So if you're talking about empowering youth, now people want to lecture, O'Mill left and all of that. O'Mill did not just vanish out of Liberia. During Ellington, they had their timetable when they were going to leave, long before the elections. So a serious president should have known, I'm going to take over a country where O'Mill will be gone, the economy will be down. We got to build it up, go back and do history. 1998 or so, a new president out of Senegal or Gambia took over. The country was underwater. The president said, listen, he spoke to his cabinet. He said, we have to bring back our country economy. It's underwater. So there will be no expensive cars. There will be no free lunch, all these things. They were driving Passat. Go back is there. George Weah knew O'Mill was leaving. Another seditious said, Eddie has said that there were, I think it was Kuangba, there will be tough time ahead of us because the economy is going to think. You took over that kind of economy. You did not call your administration together and say, listen, this is where we are. We have to build back. By the time he took over, he broke down his 9th Street home. He's building condominium. All his ministers are stealing, everybody building property. And you want to sit here to defend that. I'd never said he did not do anything.
People can work in factory in America and build houses in Liberia. People who work in government get it.
No. You brought up the story that O'Mill left and that was the economy was down. So if the economy is down,
Building a house is not a crime.
No. Give me a break. When the economy is
Where
down,
you get the money from?
the best thing
They may work in government, Mr. John. You get to pay $2,000, $4,000 a month. You get able to build a house.
Morris,
Come on now.
If you talk about a country where the economy is down, the best thing to do is to stop building and stealing. That's how you build up the economy.
Do you have any proof?
Do you
have any proof?
You develop programs.
When we come back, we're going to take our course.
Dennis, if you allow.
Our country, our country, God gave us this country. God gave us this country. We are calling on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia. God gave us this country.
Indeed, God gave us this country, and that's why we are talking this Friday night debate. Let's listen to some of our callers. Our first caller is Mr. Flomo Livingston.
Aha.
Mr. Livingston,
Yeah.
you are live.
Yeah, thank you again. Oh my goodness. What's wrong with this sedition, man? It's sick thing. On the court, Joey, I know going through the
Oh, they go through the
Alvin Murray is just disturbing the show, man. You guys be professional, man.
Flomo, get up, I got some on drugs.
Let the quarter finish his point.
Tantan, he on drugs. The man said that sedition is associated with drugs. So let me tell you,
No.
the Waka, you don't sound Tantan, he associated with drugs.
Give the caller
Let
respect. Let him finish the point.
Can we give the caller, let the caller make his call? Flomo, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you guys gotta be professional when you come on the show. People are listening to you guys. When your friends are speaking, be quiet at least. Then they speak. It's like disturbing them.
Just give your point.
My point is, Mr. John, I want to point because people don't understand what they're saying. Look, my point is, look, the DA did the right thing. Look, not everything in America here, when it turns out that the police or the DA read a race on the drug dealer, and they don't get how you call it, warrant or something like that. Sometimes they go in. Look, like you said, you get that parable, which I agree with you. Maybe the CDC are keeping drug dealers into that compound. They are just a bunch of drug dealers in that compound, so they don't want to.
Why, tell you.
How you know that?
That a professional man.
I'm alleging because this time when the police find or LDA, they kind of just run through the rules. They think that they're coming into the compound. So we watch that video. The police are not going to the compound. The incident started 4 in the morning. So you and myself don't even know how it started. But maybe when CDC saw the police around there, they're coming for our drugs.
You see that nonsense? You see that, man? You're not pushing by him as a job.
Muna Faha University. They've been open with when are they going to graduate from that school? The Muna Faha University in our CDC compound. How they talk about going to school. What kind of school is going over there?
Thank you.
What are you going to put up questions, So we need to stop this. And our country need to run. Send those guys that just lost the election. They just go mad. Like, I don't know. I'm confused. We need a therapy into our country, my man.
Thank you.
For the sedition, they need complete therapy. They're confused.
Thank you.
You lost it down.
Thank you, Blomo. Thank you. Let me bring on Boy Solo. Boy, you're live.
Thank you, Mr. C. Thank you for having me. I got 2 questions, and before I make my statement. Mr. C, when you ask somebody...
You said Mr. C?
I'm sorry, I mean Mr. Jarrah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
If you have somebody telling you, say, I will come and kill you and your children at night.
God forbid.
When you live... No, I'm saying, for example, it's not going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the person continues telling you that they're going to say you any hour, any time. When you go to bed sleeping and forget about yourself, right?
I will sleep with one eye open.
Okay, it's a simple way to put sleeping with one eye open. My second question, when John we have took over as president, did you see police terrorizing the United Party headquarters?
I wouldn't say terrorizing.
People were not gathering there every day.
Oh, come on.
The guy couldn't even afford to pay their rent in the headquarters.
They were homeless. They were homeless.
I don't want you to get on my point. Did you see police going there?
I don't recall.
Okay. Some of our father and people there on the show, some of them are shameless. If you tell me, say, protest. Y'all are the same people in America here was talking to the people to go protest, do serving, save the state, bring us back our money. When John we have to give president, like it was 7 months. Let's go to the street. Oh, it was good at that time. This is why the nothing war we buy the eggs. Because we are not honest. We are not honest.
So that payback time, is that what you mean?
No, what I'm trying to say, when it happened, nothing happened. The Genesis in the city were coming for doing the ground people, so they were happy. And what happened? They took out the door, they took out the window, they took out the kitchen, they took out the camo.
Thank you.
We really, let me tell you my last statement. Every Nebraska and Feta and people died. If they didn't count it for that, do family and all that, it's like those children are living. My last statement, Mr. Jack, I send you a video, a funny video that the people get their money in the community on the how they call it. I want you to play that video for the audience so we can listen, because we followed it this morning. The people said when the police came, they never came for rain to say the guy dropped there. They came and it's actually next to Russia or CDC, where they go leading there. They didn't know the road there. They didn't know that we're there. And the people out there and they get received, they said, you're sure on the place, and they get up, they got a road going to that place. And the guy said, when they went, when she goes to the sun and saw them running, even one police officer, they just trapped. And were trying to drag her to carry her. And you understand? So, you gotta leave that thing that we in America, we're supposed to get vast experience and telling the people what is right in our home, but we want to be so wicked to one another. Look at that promo man talking and things like you're not even supposed to talk. When you come here every day, you spit out of rubbish.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If we continue this, I'm telling you, it's immoral. When nothing one side and this side immoral. If we continue this behavior, now they're telling us that they suspended man. No. It's all planned.
Thank you. Thank you, Solo. Thank you. Don't scare her with 1990. Willie, you're alive.
Hello?
Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Bill with it out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Go ahead, Willie.
You know, we are Liberia problem will never finish, and we continue to start with people from America here that live here personally, that they dishonest. I would say that pastor that on the show tonight, I can a pastor be dishonest.
That's subjective. Don't call them dishonest.
No, people got different views on issue, Willie. So when they are viewed different from their view, it's not dishonesty.
George that never empower youth in Liberia. When he talks about youth, a lot of the youth that he's talking about empowering were not educated. How can he empower people that they are not educated to anything?
That empowerment there, when you send them to school, that empowerment.
The thing that they were doing was to put them through vocational school, put them through LU, that free education was there. That's the way of empowering people. Okay. Now, if you're coming to continue for the same year again, now you have the program job opportunity for them. But you can say they say, oh, you never do anything, and the other guy, Mohammed, whatever, he used to be on the show every day. He knows that we are in F, without
What road to call us tonight?
It's okay. Mr. John, you set us up tonight.
They discovered drugs in CDC campus. And why they are considering to go that this is their second time going in our place.
Thank you. Thank you, Willie.
The man living on CDC law in America.
Let me go to Dr. Baton Kula.
How you doing?
Great.
Yes, how you doing?
Good.
All right. I want to say something. I'll try to be as balanced as possible, but I want to touch two major things. First, I want to deal with the UP. The Unity Party came to power because there were certain things that the CDC was doing that our people were not happy with. The impunity, the abuse of power, attacking our people. You know, George Weah pretty much giving Calaspo and Koji and all those boys around him guns and giving his wife $1.2 million in our budget, which has never been ever done, ever. Every year, $1.2 million was what his wife, Claire Weah, got in our budget. A total of $7.2 million in a 6-year period. The only thing she can show for it is that quote-unquote City of Hope, which she stole the name from a cancer treatment place here in America.
I thought the man said you were starting with UP when you go show the CDC.
which by right, please, I'm speaking, which by right should be under the gender ministry and should not be controlled by her. That's the problem when we do not distinguish what is for government and what is private. Claire Weah lived in America all these years. She was a nurse, LPN. She never went to Liberia. She was no humanitarian. When George Weah took over, they had government officials and SOEs, directors of SOEs standing in line, giving her money for her so-called foundation. And then he went as far as putting $1.2 million in the budget for her every year, something that had never, ever been done before. And our so-called lawmakers sat there. Come on the line, Jordan. Our so-called lawmakers sat there with their oversight responsibility and kept their mouth shut, talking about, yeah, but ain't she will use the money on our people too? Look, we got a country of people that are stuck in an arrested development. You understand? Our lawmakers, our leaders, some of us as Liberians, we think like children. We don't have any critical thinking skills whatsoever, and that is killing our country. Our society is killing our. Let me just wrap up here with this whole thing about going to the CDC headquarters to get drugs. I'm speaking. Whoever there keep interjecting, I'm speaking. Going there to look for drugs. We need to keep the country quiet if we're going to bring investors over to create jobs for our people to work. Our people need to work. A lot of those so-called militants at CDC sleeping at the headquarters doing nothing, these people need to go to work. The way you get rid of all this militancy and all this rioting and jumping up and down all over the place is putting our people to work. If our people had decent jobs to go to, where they were making $1,000, $500 to $1,000 a month, you think they'll go sit on there at CDC headquarters all day and be following people like Alvin Weisler and Koji? No. So we need to put our people to work. So my word to the UP government, stop chasing behind these boys. Find jobs, give our youth jobs, give our youth things to do, and eventually CDC will become irrelevant. George Weah is leading a cult of personality. It's just a bunch of people that are behind him because of his celebrity status, not because he's some leader. It's a cult of personality. When you give our people jobs, when you give them something to live for, they will they'll stop going around these boys. So that's what my advice is to the UP government.
Thank you.
Well said, Dr. Kula. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring in Kalebo Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Great show. You know, I will say something. And hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so for disclaimer, what I'm going to say on FOL tonight represents Kalebo Gonglo's view. It does not represent FOL. So let me make that disclaimer first. So first, let me begin with this, Dennis. I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to repeat myself on this because I always say this. The Unity Party and the CDC are the two corruption parties in Liberia. These two parties for the past 19 years have mismanaged the state. They failed to transform the state. They failed to engage in new skill factory or to develop the state. All they believe is they've actually grown militant because they invested in poverty, they disinvested in education, and they are making the youth to follow them. And this is what they do. That's what municipalities and CDC know what to do best. Their economic policy is go to World Bank, take loan, steal some, and then spend some on small development, and then have the poor and ignorant population follow and clap for them. Look at the clear example is the airport, RIA. Municipality took $50 million. Does that airport look at $50 million airport? It happened one wrong way. That doesn't even function well. If you're flying to Liberia, you experience that. No two airplanes can land simultaneously at this point in Liberia, and Liberia is the only country probably in West Africa doing that. So it's only possible because of these two parties, the two corruption parties, CDC and Unity Party. So here's what I would say. there is something we have to try. You see, Nigeria went through so many military coups, and they are where they are. Ghana did. Burkina Faso did. See the young guy in Burkina Faso today. I think what Liberia needs today is to try another military coup. That's what Liberia needs.
No.
Because these guys, United Party and CDC, have no idea on how to transform the state. We need to try the next military coup in Liberia because
No.
one. And I think under dual regime there was astronomical development, local development. I think we need to try that. Bye.
God forbid.
Comrade Gongo, I'm shocked. I'm shocked you said that. I don't agree with you.
Yeah, I disagree. Well, I got two editions here, 33 Lion Yanku and Melissa Yadoro.
Why you got to announce that on CDC? How you know the CDC? How you know?
33 Lion Yanku.
Yeah, so take 10 minutes, John.
You get 30 seconds. Melissa Yadoro get 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is John. Well, you know, people, the Liberian people, the Liberian people stop focusing on things that they think that are not right with the CDC. That would be the best for us. As far as I'm concerned, the CDC political party have been the party that carry on a lot of good initiatives and development in the history of Liberia.
In the
If you
history.
want to put it to debate, you can sit that for another time. But what I'm saying is that our militants say, if people in the soil, you stop thinking about what our militants say, it will be the best way to move forward. We are the most intelligent and tolerant political party in East Africa. If you want to make the comparison, if you want to be fair, you know that CDC, we have a tolerator, things that no other organization in Africa who are tolerate.
Thank you. Your time
No way.
finished.
No, you always cut me off like that. We the way that working, if you want to cut it off, but let me just learn.
Yeah, please learn.
If you saw your stop provoking, if you saw your let Wagon Road to do the best thing and stop tracking the level person we are, it will be the best for you. But I can assure you what happened at the party headquarters. CDC will never tolerate nothing like that again.
Thank
we
you.
will defend ourselves. And we don't care why we resort people. Because is that the only person of the CNC political party? We will defend CDC institution.
Thank you.
We are tolerated enough.
Thank you.
Liberian people. You need to give us the flower. If you don't want to give us the flower, you'll be held responsible for tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Melissa Yadolo, another sedition. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Dennis, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Good.
Good evening to all of you. You know, I was listening to the show, but what prompted me to call in is that one of the panelists said that because people did not gather at Unity Party headquarters, that's why during the administration of CDC, they didn't send police there. But I want that person to tell me whether there is any article in the Liberian Constitution that says there should be no gathering of people at their political party headquarters.
We're not there.
If there is any constitution that says so, then we are wrong. Then the police is right to go to CDC headquarters. And two, what I want to let you know, what I want to let people know is, it is all that sitting down in America here always destroy Liberia. The civil war that went to Liberia was organized right here. Money was raised here to fund our war. And we all know about that. And we never say anything from the Liberia war. We sit here and destroy Liberia. We sit here and support war in Liberia. Can you imagine Liberian people sitting down here supporting what the police from the future? You go to people's party headquarters. You really their headquarters. You say shooting go out there in their party headquarters. And we sit down here and support it, we clap our hands. We say it is right. The process CDC are confusioning.
Thank you.
And then go to Liberian National Police headquarters at the central on Capitol Hill. To throw stone there. They then go to any police precinct in Moravia, anywhere in Moravia, to attack there.
Thank you.
But we sit in a country and destroy Liberia. But look, the next time I think happen, I spoke with the CDC yesterday, I spoke to the chairman yesterday. The next time happen, we'll all be ready here to feed our family in Africa, Guinea, and Saudi. Let's try.
Oh, God. Let's not go that route, guys.
So the man who said he's not supporting war now, you're calling for war.
Then you tell you are tough. So the tough callers start calling.
Is it our blood? Is it our blood?
Then you need to filter. You need to filter the call.
Yeah, these guys calling for war tonight. We can't go that
Nobody
route.
calling for war.
got
He will feed
one
his
calling
family.
for
He
coup,
didn't say
another
war.
one calling for war. This is sad. This is sad day for.
Given you know it's implied. He said we'll feed our family in Ivory Coast. That means there will be war and there will be refugees.
You are doing a service to our nation where people can come and vent instead of going into the bushes in Butuo.
But now they say they're going to Butuo. That was scare me.
They say if the government continue to oppress Sidicians.
Mr. Jai, what you're doing here, people are calling and venting, and we are correcting, we are saying things to soothe them.
It's healthy.
1979, we didn't, 1979 or 89, we didn't have this. The Ottopo War, we didn't have this. 2000, we didn't have this. Here we are, people are debunking things, you got people that are Canadian who are here, people who are like not only professional, but they are also therapists because they bring in things. Mr.
Flomo said we need therapists, so this is therapeutic for us.
He's been through some of the hardship, and he's here, level-minded, trying to help. Dr. PSC is here. Pastor is here. We're doing something that's helping our country. So I think it's a good thing for people to vent.
Thank you. We just need to tell them that this is not right. This is not the route we want to go.
And I think you are right.
I wanted to respond to the callers if you permit me for 30 seconds.
All of us need to respond.
If all of us respond, let me get my bell. Please, if you hear the bell, I want a minute each respond. Let me start with you, Elvis.
All right. So the former Livingston, look, I'm in your shoes, brother. We're both fans of this platform. We're avid, commenters and callers. So I'll never take away that right for you. I was a little agitated when you wrote in the comment that Sidicians are associated with drugs. This stereotype and this perception of the others, when in fact your president, his son, and I'm not saying this to disparage him, is a fact. In the rehab community where he lives, I have people that live in that community. The guy was pretty much orchestrating a ghetto right next to his father's home. Had a nightclub there, everything. I forgot the name of the nightclub, whatever. But there was Zogos living in that area. He was providing and indulging in drugs. So when you want to cast aspersions on Sidicians, look right to your president front door.
Thank you.
So that's just my response to you.
Jimmy, your response to the callers. When you hear the bell, you stop.
Thank you very much. Liberians, we have to be very, very careful. The way of the bush has never worked. The way of the gun has never worked. Had we exercised the patience to vote and remove people from power in a non-violent way, we'll be somewhere else today. We must maintain that the best way forward for Liberians is not through violent conflict. There is not that much difference between us for us to have to resort to killing for any reason. If we do not take lessons from our past histories, then we will be condemned to repeat the same thing.
Thank you. Mr. Kwame.
Well, thank you, Dennis. This issue, so somebody asked earlier, I'm the second son of General Thomas Kurunkwa. There's no way you can write the history of our country without mentioning the name Kurunkwa. Yeah. As I said earlier, what we say on these platforms go a long way in shaping the mindset of our people. So we have to be responsible with what we say so that that country is preserved in a better way for all of us. I want to strongly believe here that everybody sitting on this platform loves Liberia. President Waka is the president of Liberia. Peace, stability, and everything else in our country rests in the hands of President Waka. He must lead. and the rest of the people will follow.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson.
You know, I always say politics will always be politics. You cannot say because you are now in power, so politics will not be politics. I think we should learn from experience that what happened on the CDC headquarters is a multiple trend of events that cascaded to that scenario. And I think we should be very cautious to know that calling someone CDCN and calling them unpatriotic and calling them enemies of the state is unhealthy for our society. And we should be more tolerant in how we address each other in politics. I strongly disagree with anyone who feels that everything about a political regime is zero and nothing happened and nothing was achieved. That is antithetical to our development process. I think development is progressive, and I think leadership is also progressive. So if government comes in power, you need to begin from where others stop and develop going forward. But as I said earlier, I don't see this government going forward in a right trajectory.
Thank you.
I think we need to pause and self-correct.
Thank you. Mohammed.
Yeah, Dennis, look, I could but thanks for responding to the caller. Your father was a good man. So look, Dennis, we can't do this. I mean, I heard Gonglo said, you know, in frustration. It's really frustration. It doesn't mean it really, but you know, we can't go back. We can't go back to those era, you know, where you're going to have a military leader who's going to refuse to step down and not organize election, and then sooner or later, you know, we go into you know, a situation where the country will go down the drain. We can't go back to those days. I mean, lastly, I think that the Justice Department, though, I keep saying Justice Department, I'm so used to saying Justice Department, the Minister of Justice need to start questioning, you know, some ringleaders of these riots in the CDC compound. And I'm looking specifically at Jeff Sikweji, Akaras Gray. Those guys need to be calling for some type of questioning because of what they're doing now. They're building up a lot of tension, and it's not healthy.
Thank you. And the government is not trying to de-escalate that tension. So there's a standoff between CDC and Unity Party. And I mean, since 2005, we've been going through this. Thomas, you have a response.
Thank you. I mean, before I go to the callers, there's a kind of dichotomy when you are a law-abiding person, but you are not a rule-abiding person. So I think we need to give ourselves a chance. That's the only way the listeners are going to hear us.
Is that a shot to me?
Maybe when you can, you can. Hey, you know, I wanted to respond to Anthony earlier, but he made me laugh. And that's the way the whole fight about corruption can be so not just funny. People will just come to joke about, hey, we all forget about, hey, I'll move forward. But I think the callers, they were aggressive tonight, but I don't blame them. It's Friday night debate. My point I keep making is that our democracy needs to deliver. This whole thing of us having election and everybody is praising us, but yet poverty is increasing. This is where the frustration is coming from. Our democracy needs to deliver, so you don't have people like Mr. Gongolo thinking about alternatives. And like I keep saying, numbers don't lie. If those countries, the Bissau, the Niger, under these regimes, when they start to grow economically and get people out of poverty, and yet your poverty is increasing, but they have regimes, their poverty is going down, they start to question people. We're talking about Rwanda. Whatever is happening in Rwanda is a democracy, but we know it's one president moving forward, but he's delivering on economic growth, but not on the democracy side. So for us to stop people from thinking about these things, we need to deliver and reduce poverty. Our democracy needs to deliver.
Excellent point.
Mr. Gaiman.
Yes, I think Mr. Connor has a point here. If we have a bridesmaid that is more attractive than the bride, sometimes the groom looks the other way. If
Dennis, what am I going to do?
I want to publicly dissociate myself from
I invite him for counseling. You're not gonna come for counseling.
But this is what it is. I think Mr. Connor got it right. If the dictator that we despise is doing very well for his people, and they are doing everything they can, and the people are doing well, somebody in democracy like we are may begin to look their way and say, these guys look more attractive. Because there is this thing going around in Africa, that democracy is not actually meant for us. It's a Western ideal that are imposed upon us. Mm-hmm. And it's taking traction. But anyway, when we talk about peace in our country, the government that has the power and the resources can bring a lot to bear on relieving some of these things, like Mr. Kanye said. Once the people in power, like Joseph Waka once said, the reason these people are stuck with George Weah is because we squandered the opportunity, but I will not do that.
Thank you.
So I hope he lives up to the promise.
Pastor Salif.
Thank you, Dennis. You know, my late mother and myself most times would never agree. And I love her to death, okay? Now, this is my warning. And all of us, like Brother Kanye talk about the dichotomy, okay? Irrespective of whatever party you belong to, let us be objective. Loving somebody, being a real statesman is saying, I love Mohammed Sharif, but Sharif, this one you did was not good. That's why we're not saying in our political discourse. It's like we just line up behind people. Whether they do wrong, it's okay. We justify the wrong. CDC will justify all the wrong CDC did. UPS will justify all the wrong Bwaka is doing. And that is the problem. As real statesman, I should tell myself, I love my president. I love Weah. I love Bwaka, but this was a reach too far. You cannot do this. That's what makes you a statesman. It's not about defending everything that the president does and not listening to other people on the other side of the aisle. You got to listen to what pains other people. If we can learn to listen to each other, we can get this ball moving in the right direction. The problem is we're talking past each other. Nobody wants to listen. If you raise little critical comment about CDC, oh, you criticize our sacred leader. You talk about JB&B. Oh, no. You can't do that. We're not going to get anywhere in our national discourse. Please, let us be honest and objective.
And then they threaten with coup or war.
Yeah.
God forbid. 1990, my family and I, we walked to LACC. 1992, we walked to Compound 3. 1996, we went through it again, but we have to take time. Each of those checkpoints were nearly conscripted, harassed, and you name it.
But if you listen to Brother Kanye and Amen,
this is where I want us to close. I want us to close on this one.
They almost spoke in line with what Mr. Gonglo said.
No.
You know, and Mr. Gim, I come in and Mr. Gim said,
hold on, Mr.
if you get a wife who not looking attractive, the Brahmin looking attractive, so
you vote the other one. But that's where I want us to close. And for your closing comment, I put this in, but I just want your 30 seconds to talk about it. Our man, FOL democracy analyst, who has become the CSA Director General, Josiah Jokai. That's our democracy analyst. Marvin Cole said they should fire him. You guys read the article, and you know there have been there was the central administration for the House of Representatives said they should go through the CSA, but they are not, and so there had been that little tussle. Now Marvin Cole wants him dismissed. I'm like, okay, with all the things going on, what is dismissing Joker going to do for you?
Right.
30 seconds each, and then you're closing. Let me start with ST Salif.
Yeah, I mean, we can't be speaking on both sides of our mouths. We can't say what he's doing is not right. He's not giving people due process, but we want him fired. You're also not giving him due process. Okay. Again, like I said, I have never been a supporter of anybody. I'm a middle ground person. I'm an independent. I stay in the middle. JNB and his administration, they just not proceeding in the right way. But I saw so many arguments in so many places. Oh, it's free speech. People got to talk. Listen, Let us be very objective and very frank, including us in America. Most of the people that criticize George Weah, they were not in the administration. Let us be very honest. They were on their Facebook, they were on their YouTube, whatever. They criticized vehemently. They were not in the administration. Show me those people that work with Weah and were vehemently criticizing him. You won't be able to find those. When it comes to these other people, they work in the administration and using their platform to trust the administration. If you say that is right, I would say go to your job tomorrow here in America and start to criticize your CEO. Go online and start to criticize him. It's not going to work. So let us be careful how we put our words.
And in fact, that's now the reason why Marvin wanted him dismissed. Is he's talking all kinds of things. But Mr. Gaiman, 30 seconds for Joker and 30 seconds for your closing.
I think Pastor Salif is on a different planet. When you work in the private sector, you can do that. But when you work in the government, you have the right to do those things. And even if your boss doesn't like you, there's a process, the due process.
It's not.
Pastor Salif, I work with the public sector here. It's in Florida here, they have something called the right to work law.
Florida that is banning books.
It's different. I work in the public sector too. It's different.
But
call any other state. Don't call Florida
but
again.
Listen, man.
I do work in the public sector.
Dennis
That's not
John,
true.
will you lady guy let me finish my 30 seconds? In Florida, we have something called the
30
right to
seconds
work.
already gone.
Yeah, we get right to work law. That means the private sector can fire you anytime. You can quit anytime. But when you are civil servant or you work in the public sector, they have to go by a process. That's all it is. If you don't do that, you're in trouble. And Mr. Joker didn't do that.
Jerome, let's say you work in a group home. You know that web. I have that experience.
Right.
You work in a group home in a government setting, and you abuse a client or one of those residents. It's automatic fire, right? They just send you home.
That's correct.
And what would be the process? So they send you home.
Yes, that is elder abuse. That's a crime. That's abuse.
But you work with the government. Why don't they give you the right and due process? And
No, because the law is very clear. When you do domestic violence of any kind, you are automatically fired.
Thank you. But other places, the law not clear. Clarence, let's talk. Josiah Joker and your closing.
Josiah Joker should not be dismissed in my mind, but I think he's proceeding wrong, and for several reasons. I find it very comical when people try to compare Liberia to America on this ground. Number one, all of our policies and all of our major workplace policies are in front of your face 24/7 if you want to, and you get trained to them every single year. Whether it's HIPAA or other places, you do hours on those. Whether sexual abuse, you do hours on those things. And Liberia is not the case. I have never seen a civil servant coming from work and say, this is my HR policy, or this is civil servant standing order in Liberia. I've never seen it in my entire life since I worked there. And I say this to say that, Josiah Joker may have good intentions, but he has to proceed understanding the context. In America, one of the big training we're doing, and they call it cultural competency. You have to have that cultural competency on that job. And in closing, I would say,
the basic onboarding process.
Yeah. Listen. Politics.
No, but let me say what Marvin Coe is talking about had nothing to do with. Maybe I shouldn't say had nothing to do with it. But Marvin Coe, their central administration, they are civil servants. But what they are doing, what the CSA found is they are employing and firing people, and they don't have the right to do so. So that's where really it started. Go ahead.
Again, I'm saying Josiah Joker, different proactive functions in the CSA extends even to that. I don't even believe that Josiah Joker should be involved with the legislature because there's
the central administration. They are civil servants. They are not part of the.
So listen, the legislature as a whole is distinct from the executive. The
central administration in the legislature, those are civil servants.
All right, so then it goes back to what I'm saying. There has to be proper education in order to effect the change he wants to see. That's what I was trying to say initially. But in closing, I will say this for a fact. we shouldn't think that politics will cease because someone else has gotten into power. It's not going to happen. I think we should be tolerant. In my closing, I want to say that jobs don't stop protests. It's good governance that stop protests. People can have jobs. If there's bad governance, there will be protests. We see that in America. We see that across the world. So President Boyka and his guys need to govern well and produce the Thomas said, and we see less and less of these protests.
Thank you. Elvis.
Thank you, Mr. John. I hope my audio is good. I don't think he should be fired. I think he's trying to bring a way of doing things that he learned in the United States to Liberia, which may help in some aspects. But like somebody said, I think it was like the Pearson, the cultural aspect, you need to bring that into consideration. And I think he's also a bit tainted in terms of his political affiliation and his admiration for President Boyka. He takes these things personally. You know, somebody insult the president, he takes that as a personal affront to him because he has such a high admiration for the president. And I think if you really take a step back a little bit, and maybe the legislature should call him in and have a chat with him. Let him tell him what he plans to do at that agency and what, why he's doing and taking some of the actions that he's taking right now. And overall, I think he's a smart guy. But I think, like I said on one of the other shows, you need to step back because people hold grudges, and that's Liberia. You never know what can happen. But lastly, let me say this. As you see under my name here, I'm a peace-loving and law-abiding citizen. And to the city, to the youth.
Since when you became citizen?
I've made that push because I think the government has pushed me to fully, come out of the closet as a citizen because I think they're targeting these guys. But let me talk to them for a second. Look, use the law to your advantage. President Weah said in his speech, they're going to resist, not just through political rhetoric, but through, using the court system. If you feel like you're being harassed and your right to assemble, your freedom to assemble is being infringed on, go to the courts. We have justices on the Supreme Court who were sent there by the CDC. Maybe their ideology, and their political and judicial leanings will favor you. Use the court system. When the court is against you, then you know the entire government is against you. Use the court system as a first line of recourse, sedition. That's my advice to you.
Thank you. And they shouldn't go to the Supreme Court because they have sedition there. They should go there because justice is blind.
Tell that to the Republicans in America who overturn Roe v. Wade.
Mr. Kwengba.
Who said someone Chief Justice whom?
Right.
Mr. Kwengba, your joker and your closing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't like to just say somebody smart, somebody dumb, and all that kind of thing. I don't do it because sometimes there's smartness here. There's something they got common sense too, right? Joker is coming to the CSA under the cloud of Daha Joseph Boyka man, Daha Unity Party man, and I don't think he clearly understands that the civil service is not about Joseph Boyka or George Weah. It's about Liberian people serving the Republic of Liberia. And so until he understands, that he's always going to be in a problem. All right. If you're saying that you're firing people in Liberia because they cost president, the whole civil service will be empty tomorrow morning. All right. The whole civil service will be empty tomorrow.
Everybody causing president.
Everybody causing president. Everybody causing president on Facebook is there. I see that he came up with some kind of thing the last time, restricting how people talk on social media. Good luck. I want to see how that will be implemented. All right. So Joker is a young man. He needs to understand Liberia and he needs to understand the role that he's playing. The role that he's playing is about serving the Republic of Liberia. It's not Joe Boyka, Liberia, or George Manuel Weah, Liberia. So I hope he understands that. And I don't know what Marvin will be calling for his dismissal. Marvin, you were elected to make laws for our people, to do oversight and represent your constituent. Focus on that. Start recommending for somebody to be dismissed from another branch of government. There is this overlapping of functions now in Liberia of our legislators where they have become employers, right? So the other representative here, if you make a mind to the ministry the next day, looking for employment for the people then are running campaign for him, you already compromising yourself right there. All right. When you start to openly work with the executive for minister to employ the other person, employ that other person. You think that minister doing wrong, come to you, you want to look at him in the way you're supposed to look at him? No, it's not possible.
Thank
and
you.
that is on the rise in Liberia.
Yeah, but that is his freedom of speech. He's free to say whether the man should resign or not. We cannot stifle his freedom of speech.
Yeah, I agree. But then, as a legislator, you got three primary functions. I would rather you prioritize
your period.
Oh, yeah, but Mr. Salif took 45 seconds just now. So let me just recoup my 45 seconds.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we want good Liberia. President Bouaka, you have a responsibility to make it work. We're all going to support you to ensure that you make it work for Liberia to be a better place. The tension these few days not necessary. Let's tune down the rhetoric. Let's make sure the right things are done for Liberia to be a better place. And it starts with the president.
Thank you. I don't know if the former president will have a role, but anyway, we'll leave it as that.
It will start with the president. We can only have a president at a time. We can only have one president.
You're closing. And Joker.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a brilliant debate. I like to say, today my boss challenged me. He said, I know you come from a different domain. Right now, I'm doing data centers, and I was an architect in telecommunications. And he says, I know you come from a different domain, but I want to tell you something. If you're going to be the face of our company, you're going to have to speak to experts in this domain, and they're going to have to believe you. In other words, you have a very short time to learn how to conduct yourselves to our clients. That's the same thing the UP government is faced with. You have a very short time to know how to engage Liberian people. That includes the CDC and all their partisans and everything else. You have a very short time. You don't have time to be making a whole lot of errors and try to learn on the job. You have to approach it in a systematic way that you will be proficient in your job within the shortest time.
Thank you. Thomas.
Thank you, Dennis. Great show. So on Josiah issue, first you clarified those working at the legislature under the central administration, they are civil servants. And this whole issue of protecting them, it happened during the harmonization. When the harmonization was done, they were asked not to be touched. Then when the harmonization took place, they harmonized the salary of people across different agencies at the same level. So director in one agency, controller in one agency, they were making the same money. They then realized that they were making less. And so they themselves asked the legislature to submit them to harmonization. So that distinction needs to be made. The people who are not civil servants are those who are employed, 18 staff in the individual offices of the senators and representatives. They are not civil servants. But the rest of those other people, nobody can change them. They are civil servants, so they should be covered by the CSA. The other thing is that our civil service, even though we did harmonization, but it's not really professionalized. There's no performance management system. So I think really cleaning this civil service to be able to introduce all these things with onboarding, training people, helping them know what the standing orders are, is something we need to do. But before we do it, we need to clean the rule. And that's what Joka is doing. So a representative calling for him to be removed, I don't think that's justifiable for doing his job. What I can advise him, like I said the other day, is to move forward with the passage of the law for the Civil Service Commission, which is provided for in the Constitution. I think that needs to be done. And it's also the case of the Ministry of Planning. The Ministry of Planning used to be the Ministry of Lands and Mines. It used to be Lands, Mines, and Energy. When the Land Authority were created, they removed land from there. But they've never gone back to Parliament to change that ministry from Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy to Ministry of Mines and Energy. They just changed the name of the ministry in front of the building. These things need to be consistent. We need to follow the rule of law. On Jimmy's point, anything the government is doing, I think they should follow the rule of law. On the issue of what I was responding to Mr. Gongolo's point, I wasn't calling for a military coup. What I was saying is that when the democracy delivers, then you will not have people thinking the way Mr. Gongolo and other people are thinking, because numbers don't make mistakes. So that's what I was saying. In conclusion, McGill call to LACC was justifiable. CDC headquarters issue, They said it wasn't CDC. They went behind the CDC people to say there is a vocational training center on the CDC compound. We have never seen it being open. We don't think they have students. So anybody on that compound is just somebody lottering Albert. Thank you very much.
Lottering.
Well, I can't party in London, party.
Mohammed.
But they're not attending vocational school.
Come on, man.
Why is the man playing a role there?
No, but don't say they're attending vacation school. No vacation school there.
It's the pretext. They call that pretext. The vocational school pretext.
Anyway, you can charge them. You know, during the war, the rebels then they can charge you for bow-legged walking. So you can walk bow-legged in your own.
Thomas, that's a constitutional violation, right there. You deny the put a constitutional right to assemble.
Mohammed, you close us.
Yeah. So Dennis, thanks. So with the Josiah Joker situation, I don't know much about the interaction with the legislature, but one of the things that he's been catching flack for is the issue with these city hall employees. But what I can say about this is that as public servants, I mean, you cannot be. People have to understand this. If you are actively involved in politicking, let's say, for instance, I as an independent, right, and I tend to show, or say I'm a Unity Party supporter, and I go before you, but you are averse to the Unity Party. You're opposed to the Unity Party. You're opposed to the leader of the Unity Party. But this is the leader that I, for example, adore. I'm just, this is just hypothetical, and I adore this person. So what is your judgment is already clouded by my disposition towards the Unity Party. So this is the reason why, civil servants, there's that line of demarcation. You're a civil servant. Do you want to serve us in City Hall, or you want to participate in active politics? I think you got to pick one or the other. Although, when I look at Liberia, it's not something that I want to advocate for someone to lose their job. These guys, I mean, they have families. Maybe 10 or 15 people are dependent on one person. So that is not something that I will advocate. I would say retrain these guys to understand that, politicking, actively engaging in politics and the civil service, these are, not congruent. I mean, it's not something that you can do. You want to actually go out of the civil service and get into politics. So that's what I can say about that. I don't think Josiah should get fired if it's around those things. Lastly, Dennis, I think that, people forget, those of us who are those of us who are independent, I think that what we express should carry some weight.
You got dry face, man.
Because you see, the man came from Haiti. He come and attack me. The man he had left. He was asleep just now.
No. He went to look at the bridesmaid.
He came out of hiding.
He went to look at the bridesmaid.
Oh my God, he came out of hiding.
Federal will go to each other.
But Dennis, here's the thing, right? The president.
You have 15 seconds.
Yeah, finally. See, the president, people don't realize that. I heard somebody the other day who was going to Zouadrou, and they said they reached there in no time. And people are traveling now, Dennis.
Oh my God.
It looks like the farmers.
Close that man down. That other thing you're talking there, just stop it. You're gonna have different discussion you want to bring here now. Because I guess somebody don't even tell that one.
Sherry, go at and come back, please.
Sherry, the job waiting for you. The job waiting for you.
Guys, I was one person that said that if the machines don't come, if I don't see machines, I'll be on here criticizing the administration. But since I started seeing these machines, I have been very happy for the Liberian people. Ever since, I have been very happy for the Liberian people. That's how happy I am. Even
Sir,
though
thank
the
you.
machines have not deployed in all the counties, but I have been very happy for the Liberian
Oh,
people.
where they not deploy
that
it?
work well.
Where they not deploy it?
Thank you. But gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your time tonight.
Machine deploying BDC.
Thank you. Thank you.
It will come out of
Thank you.
BDC. It will leave BDC. Listen, it will
Let
get
me-
out of BDC.
Let me mention that I know people were frustrated. The colors were animated, but the idea of coup d'etat, the idea of war, the idea of all these things, please, we're not going back. Has
Kamala was said.
yeah.
I think
Omar
it's
Kamala.
better to say it on a platform like this. We correct them than they go somewhere else and say it.
Right. So, and it's also a teaching experience for all of us to tell people that it's better that we talk our thing here than to go fight. We shouldn't do it because the fight we did benefit us. See what we got now.
Nothing.
Thank you.
People that before the war, that when they talk about being president, we're supposed to lay them down and give them 25. That the people talking about presidency. But anyway, yeah. On that note,
that closing store for Apple.
It's a
There's
powerful
gonna be a June 7, 2025.
Yeah, you a goal leader.
You know the funny thing about Liberian people, the way they bought it tell Raja we are government. That they don't want to know who the people.
But you forget the hard job we are government.
Can you imagine?
Let's close, gentlemen. Let's close. After the show, we can have the pet talk.
Yeah, got it. Stay on top. Good night, guys.
Podcast without the song that says we are all Liberians. So whether you support Bwaka, you support Wea, you support Gonglo, or you support me, we are all Liberians. Let's do our very best to make our
Dennis trying to be superintendent. Let's support Dennis for superintendent.
If you are in Atlanta, please take a placard with what President Bwaka is and put there Dennis job for superintendent of Sino. That's my dream job.
I support you, and I will go play game for you to
Dennis for superintendent. Oh, yeah.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.